Good morning. Purple Jesus Juice. What's up, brother? Yuli. Morning. Steve Austin. What's up, brother? Nice to see you in here, man. You know, this SWN's not terrible. We were looking at this thing yesterday. Not terrible. Not perfect. It's kind of gapping up here in the morning. It's not 5 star, but in this market, I'm not really sure what is. Of course, DVN stopped me out yesterday, and it's perking back up through where I bought it. That sucks. I suppose I should have or could have used a close of the 20 yesterday, and I didn't. I was using the low of the day that I bought, and I got stopped. Probably something I should work on as well, right? Just widening my stop a little bit, sizing down just a little bit, but if it sets up, I'll take it again. DVN, bastard. Dr. Luca, Alex, morning. Yeah, I mean, there are cheap names setting up, which is always nice to see that the bigger names are still holding up to. I mean, there's still setups in the sector. SWN, DVN still looks good. I just stopped myself out at low of the day I bought. Maybe versus using the 20, which it could very well bounce from today. Sedge starting to look better. Stems one that's starting to look better. Sedge looking a little bit better. I mean, this thing could truthfully use another little day or two, but the stem looks okay. Better than it did yesterday. It didn't got up to that level, hit that alert a handful of times, but never ended up really going, which is kind of what I was expecting. The move up yesterday was already enough, right back to breakout level. Tan still looks good. Yeah, yes, yeah. You caught the podcast where I was a day trader at the time, so nothing wrong with it. But yeah, if you are day trading, I used to literally buy a red candle as it was going down into a level of previous resistance, and then I would play the bounce for support. But my trading has changed quite a bit over the last year plus. Um, yeah, I'm almost strictly a swing trader now. Very rarely do I take a day trade. But yeah, that's how I would do it. You draw an area of resistance on a smaller time frame, and then it breaks through it. When it comes retests, uh, I would buy that red candle right into previous resistance and play the bounce. BSM looks pretty good too. Seems like it's a little bit slower. It's also not super liquid. Not an ugly looking chart though. Kind of random, but DVN. You bastard. Yeah, it's something I got to work on for sure. Is widening the stop, sizing down maybe even a little bit more in the market, and giving her more room to work because DVN's looking better. Pretty light volume though. It's kind of irrelevant. Ford got his butt kicked yesterday. Still a nice base though. Just maybe needs some time. Would be nice to see the market float up a little higher today. Some of these names are resting right on support. Yeah. Yeah, day trading was insane. We also day traded in like the hottest market of all time, or one of the. And honestly, I got sick of putting myself in the opportunity to make seven figures on trades and not getting the seven figures because lack of sell rules, right? You would just oversize in something because you were day trading, and then you'd take the profits off. Um, but I've been sized into things so many times that just ended up going crazy. But like I just randomly sold it, and randomly doing anything doesn't help. So I finally figured out some sell rules and been kind of using them religiously, and success has been way better with much less stress and usually way less size. I'm letting time be the thing that pays me versus position sizing. PLL looks pretty good too. Lithium names were on a tear yesterday. ALB, SQM. SQM's got a beautiful daily. If it can tighten up right under all-time highs, that's going to be really nice. That's going to be a really nice chart. Yeah, uranium, some natural gas names, AR, SWN. For instance, I'll still be eyeballing, DVN Oxy. This STNG won't go away, but no setup. STLD's getting better too, on the daily at least. STEM. Yeah, let me know if that's better with the mic volume. Sorry guys, it's good to ask in the morning here. I'll move the mic closer. Or just turn up the volume. Let me know if that's better. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of bios either. ALT is a great example of why. Take a peek at ALT this morning. I didn't even bother looking at the news, but I know that it had an ugly ass gap down, and that's the last thing I'd ever want to wake up to. So I try to avoid them like the plague, but every now and again, I will play them. I played RYTM, so I'm not gonna lie. Played RYTM, was perfect down here. But yeah, every now and again, you'll end up on the wrong side of one. I remember I had I don't remember what name it was, but I took a 6-figure overnight because of an offering, and they did the offering at 6:30 in the morning. So I wasn't even at the desk. And it was funny because I was up $4 a share on the thing. So I was up. I had 25,000 shares. I was up 100 grand and ended up losing 100 grand. So it didn't feel too good. DVN, you straight bastard. Still low volume this morning, but have not been able to get my eyes off of this name. And sometimes, it's not that breakouts don't work. It's not that names won't go higher, but traditional breakouts won't always work. Sometimes, you need to play an undercut and rally, in a crappy market. There are names that have gone higher, notably LNTH. But if you bought a traditional breakout on this thing, I mean, you've been, other than the very first EP down here, if you'd have bought that EP, I mean, otherwise, if it just sets up for a breakout, a traditional breakout, I was talking about it down here at 69, somewhere in there, right over these little tops. But I ended up getting stopped out right in here. And then, I ended up buying it again the next day, which was the smart move right back through 69. But again, it didn't work. I kept my stop at break even and it got hit again. So it's been tough, sometimes buying the weakness, on some of these names, or not just on some of these names, it's the market that we're in, really. If this were just a much healthier market, breakouts are going to work. But it just seems like it's, the back tests that are holding, and things are back testing or undercutting, and then they're rallying. So it's not that they're not working, or you just got to widen your stop and lower your size. That's the other one, right? And it's important to remember why these names are going up anyway. They've got incredible fundamentals. They're not going up because, whatever your opinion might be. They're going up because they've got awesome sales and growth. And that's why they're going up. That's why a company like CELH went way up from these lows. They go way up because fundamentals. Yeah, it depends, a few things, Trader Aid, and I will kind of get into them while I scan here. So one of the things that I look at is obviously the price. Um, if I'm buying okay, let's just say you're trading with $1 million and I want to put $100,000 to work, right? So if I buy a $3, call it $2 stock, and I have to buy 50,000 shares, but I have you know, a 15-cent stop, $7,500. So you have to know. I think one of the biggest things when it comes to sizing into anything is knowing what your loss will be before you ever get in. And that is how I really determine my position size. Because oftentimes, I want to play a name like GTLB, right? Or what was the name that I said? Or EMPH, or FSLR, for instance. And sometimes when you get into these things, you've got, sometimes when you're buying these things, on right here, your risk is $4 or $5. So if I want to buy 1,500 shares, I might be risking 6 grand versus I remember a time when I played Qualcomm, QCOM, and I think I had 800 shares and 170 grand at work, and I had $300 of risk. So you could actually size up in that position, right? You could actually take 1,500 shares and only have $1,000 worth of risk, and you're playing with a fairly large account. If you're sitting there saying, "Hey, I'm playing with $1 million," you're supposed to comfortably be able to take a 0.5% or a 1% loser without losing too much sleep. And so sizing in so that you're actually making money on the way up, but not sizing in so much that you're uncomfortable with the loss. Because again, there are times when you're gonna be able to buy a $5, $6, $7, $8 name that will have a nice setup, and you might end up having 40 cents of risk on that $7 name. Well, are we going to go in and just dive in with a 10% or a 15% portfolio position? Maybe not, because you don't want to own 15,000 shares with 50 or 40-cent risk, right? So that's something that is good to think about. The most important part, I think, is that you realize what your potential loss can be before you enter. That will really help you make up your mind and make a proper decision when it comes to position sizing. And yeah, if something's tight, I will take a full 10%. Otherwise, if you feel like you're risking a bit too much, take 5%. If the stock is actually strong and begins to work for you, it can set up again or give you another little tight pivot for you to add. So take 5% and then another 5%. I always mention the CLH because this is exactly what I did. I took my position right here as it went tight for a few days. And then I bought over these little two tops. Right? But obviously your risk being at the low of the day. So it was a little higher than that, but and then, again, it ended up tightening right back up in here. I ended up taking it on this day, 720. So right as it basically started to push back up through this previous day's high. So it was a good spot to add. And you're adding higher into something that's already your one ad and your second ad. And it even flattened out again, right in here. Flattened out. And you could have even taken a third ad at the end of the day. And I remember the market was actually bouncing pretty hard this day. And I actually ended up buying a couple things. I ended up buying CELH, PLAB. That didn't work, but this was the exact same day. The PLAB had a nice little setup. Nice move up. Went sideways for a few days. Started to break that range. Got long. Yeah, I remember PLAB, CELH. So yeah, you can buy something 5% and then, look to add as it sets itself up down the road. Yeah, I don't worry too much about slip gap down personally, unless you think that the stock that you're in, can have an offering or, what kind of gap down are you truly going to get? It'd have to be some kind of bad news. And, remember, we are buying the breakout. So the stock has to start pushing away from your average fairly quickly. Otherwise, is it really a breakout? So I'm not really worried too much about the gap down. Usually on any positions I own, I have a halfway decent cushion. On anything I own. Yeah, Wolf's fine. Needs time. Should have bought the gap up EP. Should have been looking to get high right over these little tops. And then, of course, it ended up turning into support down the road. Boom, boom. And again, that's the kind of market we're in. You could always wait for the retest, but I do not want to buy I don't want to buy the pullback, right? I want to buy as it breaks through. Needs time. Your entry was down here, $30. PRVA. Entry was 30. Maybe even right there, but you'd have probably, I don't know, could have gotten stopped out maybe, or even right there. Nice little flat area on the daily. It's what I look for. Flat. It's how I limit my risk. There you go. Here's where you're buying. That's where you'd be selling if you're wrong. And it looks like you'd have gotten stopped out anyway. Yes, you would have. So it didn't matter. Yeah, it's been choppy. It gave one really great entry, and that was at 30, and it never saw red. And that's the ideal. A lot of these names that just cross over the 200, they're going to give you one or two really clean entries close to that 200, and then you may never get one again. who knows? Not, I mean, it's clearly strong. EVH2 is another one. But yeah, I'm not in love with any of these names. It's been choppy. Yeah, as long as you, a couple of things that float through my mind is what sector am I buying something in? How's the overall health of the market? How's the setup that I'm buying? How tight is my risk? How much am I risking? Kind of in that order. Everything else is pretty irrelevant. Yeah, LNTH looks really good today too. Yeah, I always want to know what my risk is. It's the number one most important thing before taking a trade. How much can I lose here? And then, you know, if I feel like I still want to buy it, but it's in a crappy market, then I size down. Like if I'm just dying to own it, like if somebody caught AEHR yesterday, like my buddy did, and he caught it at 1520s down here. So okay, cool. You catch AEHR, but in that kind of a crappy market yesterday, you're gonna take a full 10%? Hell no. You're gonna take a 5% or 4% or something, small. Nerve. Nerve's fine, just needs time. I mean, if it takes out these tops on volume, sure. It's above all moving averages, but it's a fast name. Nice big volume to push the thing up. But it's clearly surfing well. I don't love it, but focus on clean and linear. Clean and linear. But nerve's fine. I mean, nice big move up. Looks like it's putting in higher lows. Surfing the 10. Hourly looks cool. But nothing I would get aggressive with personally. What's up, Nep? How you doing? Yeah, no sense in getting aggressive in this market, guys. One of the things that I always like to preach is progressive exposure. Especially if you're a swing trader. If you open up one or two positions but you can't get traction on it, and you believe you're in the leading space, it's like, is your timing off? Is your sizing off? Is the market crappy? Like, I want to buy something and then it start to work for me so then I can go comfortably buy something else and buy something else and buy something else. And get aggressive behind getting traction and having winners in the market. But if every time you buy something, it's just going to take a shit on you, you can't just go keep buying something and buying something and buying something, like wanting a winner really bad. Not only should the charts kind of find you, you should be able to like take the trade and then it start to work for you. And then once it starts to work for you, you can get another one and get another one. I have my own variations too. He's got such a big account, he can only take specific setups or incredibly liquid setups. I could probably trade names, with you guys much more commonly than he ever could. Like something like STEM. He couldn't touch something like this because he'd have to buy a half a million. He'd have to buy an eighth of all the buying taking place in a day. You'd have to buy a 500,000 shares just to get an $8 million position in. So it's not something he could touch. But me, you guys, this is perfect, right? Nice move up, starting a flag on the daily, higher lows, surfing the 20, creeping right back up to supply. It starts to break this area here on big volume. I mean, I wouldn't even mind another inside day, just a little red day. Tighten up, go sideways would be even better. But, it's not bad. But, yeah, I mean, I try to align myself with as much as what he does and some of what I've learned from, the old school guys. But, I was looking at this SWN yesterday. I was hoping it wouldn't take off without me. It looked halfway decent. Tel caught my attention the other day on some really big volume down here. Somebody wanted in. We'll see. Just some cheaper little nat gas names. Really, I think my favorite one in this space is AR. Yeah, AR is starting to look fucking righteous. AR looks really nice. But we'll see. Yeah, SWN's getting the love this morning. Quite a bit of volume too. 109,000 shares so far. Not bad. Yeah, Doc, I'll be doing the streams daily, and they will be on YouTube. All right, guys, I know market's about to open up here. Good luck. No need to get overly aggressive in this market. Let it sell. Let it settle. Let the race start. Pick your winners afterwards. Let the race start, then pick your winners. That's a little frustrating, to be honest, seeing DVN rip like this. Oh well. I don't even know what this company does. Becky. Real estate services? Oh, yeah. I'm good on that. Could very well end up working too, but crunked. Dun, dun, dun. CLH, just gonna need some time. Man, this CRK, huh? The best acting. I think we spoke about this one on Monday. Never did anything about it. That little gap up wasn't too great, but it's been one of the better acting oil and gas names. Lithium names. Lithium had itself a day yesterday, too. NEP. is not a bad looking chart. That's for sure. It's one of those that's shown the ability to make a massive move. I mean, absolutely massive. This volatility up here has been crazy, though. Yeah, the volatility has been really crazy. Yeah, what's up? You did? Now, where's that setup? Yeah, but are we buying weakness or are we buying strength? Oh yeah, I mean I like toast for probably a really long term, but so I bought it. Yeah, yeah, you are going to see it at all the restaurants. I mean, I bought it down here 1880, you know, after it took out 9 sixes high, but just, you know, careful buying the weakness because you buy something like this and it's going down, right? But then the question is, where do I leave if I'm wrong? Are you using a full dollar stop to like 1860? If you are, then that's something that can definitely work. SWN, man. I guess we were looking at the right one yesterday because this thing is acting well. It looked nice. It would have been nice if it didn't gap up this morning and it ramped through that level. But it kind of gapped up and then pulled back. Obviously found support right on it, but that's not the kind of entry I want to take at all, ever. Um, Unless, of course, it's, in the right sector, which it is. But it's so much easier to buy through the level, through the pivot, than it is to gap up. Again, it's not like we're in an easy market right now, so buying that gap up is difficult, which I didn't do. But I guess the chart was pretty nice, wasn't it? Doesn't matter. See, like AR, this one's a little bit better on the daily. If it pushes through these two tops, that's different. And it's not gapping through. And now it's starting to push through. DVN's a little frustrating, man. I need to work on that. And pronto. I need to work on that. Extending my stop a little bit. PGEN. Yeah. I think we talked about this. I think we may have talked about this. There's nothing to do. If you already trimmed a little piece and you took some in the 250s, I think you said like 253 or something like that. But yeah, a little 3 to 5 day momentum burst. You've really only got one, and just at this point, let it surf the 10 if it wants to. SWN, man, screwed that up. Wish it would have waited for me, but no position. That's how it goes. Can't catch them all. Cannot catch them all. But not only did I miss that one, I stopped myself out of this one. I talk about frustrating. Ugh. Yeah, SWN was nice, dude. SWN was nice. I mean, if I did play it, I would have wanted to buy it through like 775, basically 774 through yesterday's high. Yeah, pretty much through 775 through 780s would have been a nice buy spot, but it kind of gapped through that level this morning, and I didn't chase it. And then of course you see DVN coming right back, and I got stopped out yesterday. If I weren't in it, I I would watch for pullbacks to get firm. Probably off of 790s or something, and still risk low of day. But I don't really want to buy these pullbacks. Let's see. Yeah, damn thing looks strong. Oh well. SWN. Go ahead, little buddy. Grew up without me. CHK. Hey, what's up? 8:31. Oh, 9:31. 9 minutes ago. Oh wow, you caught a 783. You dirty dog. Yeah, stop at low of day. Don't overthink it. It looks like a nice name, nice setup. Yeah, just let it work. Wow, what a snag. Well, oh my God, both of you guys are in. That's great. Gotta love it. Well, good work, honestly. Yeah, BJ looks fine. No, I would put it a close below the 20 because it's now above your average. But it actually has to close below. Like you gotta wait till the end of day. AR, here we go. Okay. Oh, frustrator. DVN. Maybe another day. Maybe. Hopefully it will fail this area, this supply, 7160s, and then just stop, close right up here on the day. Which is frustrating. I mean, imagine having to own something, $1.50 higher than where you were before. But that's trading. Oh yeah, yeah. That's Blaine, everybody's favorite podcaster. She's been getting the tough love lately. God. Oh. See, guys, I like cheap names too, and that's a breakout. I mean, we're not even done. We're not even close to done with this hourly candlestick, and look at the volume coming in. God. I mean, sometimes you can scan for them, you can be all over them, but you just can't take them. Oxy, though. Here we go. We see you, Oxy. All right, Uncle Warren. Okay. Well, which sucks too, because you get stopped out of what I believe to be the better name, the stronger name in DVN, and I am really regretting not setting my stop lower for a close of the 20. But I did just grab some Oxy, and we'll see if that ends up holding, and it ends up pushing with DVN. It seems like crude's pushing much higher today, which, again, much higher. It's still underneath its moving averages, so that doesn't say a lot about crude, but yeah, all these names, PTEN, SM. SM looks even better, stronger. AR looks really nice today too, which I did happen to grab a position of. So we'll see. And hopefully DVN will just lead the way and drag up these other names with them. SWN, my God. Man, what a bum. CHK, another one. Talking about it yesterday. It was just showing tons of strength. Looked like it was going to fail. Nope, 52-week highs. Just in case anybody's wondering where money's going. LNG, another one, 52-week highs. In case anyone wondering where money's going. Don't let this be such rocket science. EQT, yeah, EQT's a beauty. It's a perfect chart. I mean, could we have a little bit tighter of a day? Sure, but if it takes out your area cleanly. Like I said, I miss SWN, so I'm not too mad about it, but hey, we'll see if AR and Oxy make up for it. We'll put it like this. So far, Oxy is not DVN or SWN. My goodness, this thing is fucking gone. Yeah, already 7% up. Very nice. God bless whoever was able to snatch those. But the setup is the setup, guys. Higher lows on the daily. Got right back up above moving averages. There's your flagpole, right? And then what did it do? Sideways. Even if it's for 2 sessions, that's it. Sometimes things just need a small little breath, or just a little quick pause to give you a supply area to get long on, and it being in the right sector. That's all. Zero magic. We found it on the scans yesterday. It was on my scans yesterday, and ready to execute today. It pushed up too much in pre-market for my own loving, and I didn't buy it. And that's my own mistake, because it's looking like one for now. Yeah, CRK. Where's the setup? Super strong. We talked about it on Monday. Your long would have been over $19 basically. Nothing to do now. It's a monster. It's in the right space. Again, LNG, CRK, AR, EQT. I mean, everything's going to see brand new highs. SWN, or not brand new highs, but everything's perking out of a really nice base. DVN, son of a DVN. God, that sucks. That sucks. But that's trading, guys. Can't ever get too angry. That's why you size him properly. Would have been nice to be in a name that I believe was a leader and not get stopped out, but nothing I could do. And that's trading. Expect to get stopped out a ton. Expect for you to be pissed off a lot. Just, nothing you can do. BSM's not terrible either. It's a little slow, but and a touch thin, honestly. Not something I could play. But another nice name. Minerals Company. Yes. Which one? Oh yeah, EQT. I like AR a little bit more personally. AR just got through my pivot 4130. Ah, DVN's a frustrator. Are you still sitting in there, Blaine? Fuck. Yeah? Oh, great. Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Good for you. Breaking all the. That's okay. Yeah, yeah. So close below the 20. That's what you should be waiting for now on the daily. It basically has to break below yesterday's low for you to want to get out of DVN if you're still in. I wish I would have extended. I should have made my stop a close below the 20, but I didn't. And I stopped myself out yesterday, basically end of day, and frustrating, but that's trading. Yeah, I already did. And Oxy as a revenge trade to DVN. No kidding. I just want exposure to the sector, and DVN and Oxy will more than likely, trend together. I mean, DVN is a prettier chart, stronger chart. That's why I wanted them in them yesterday, but I should have extended my stop, widened it a little bit. I didn't even consider it honestly. I just respected my low of day stop, and hindsight's 2020. Walmart. Yeah, it just wasn't perfect. If it really wants to go higher, Walmart will set up better. My only problem with Walmart is it's so slow. HRB, what are they? Isn't that H in our block? Yeah, HRB, your setup was down here on big volume on earnings. You should have bought opening range highs on that day, on earnings day. I looked at this chart for a while. HRB. Your entry was right there. First hour candlestick to make a high. 25.45. About 50-cent risk. Still looks just fine. We'll see how it closes. Hey, AR looks fine. CCJ looks fine. DVN, frustrator. Yeah, even when you see the little cheap oil and gas names going, like GTE, that just means the sector's working. It means tons of money's flooding that sector, even when the cheap turds are working. Yeah, so really what I'm scanning for are the top 30, 60, 90-day gainers, and then I scan for a few other things. I scan for names that are getting tight and volume drying up on the 60-minute chart, and then I'm also scanning for. Sorry, I'm a little distracted watching my trying to not take my frustration out on DVN. And I also scan for volume anomalies. So like any chart that's up 10% on the day on 300% average relative volume, that has my attention, right? So like Wolf would have come on my radar when it gapped up, up on 300% average relative volume and up over 10% on the day. And CSIQ when it gapped up on that day would have had my attention, up 10% on the day on 300% relative volume. So, names like this will hit your radar, and that's institutional money going to work. when an elephant steps into a pool, he leaves a big splash or makes a big splash. So they're, when you get volume anomalies like that and a move like that, um, and obviously with some price restraints, like I'm not looking at super cheap turds. I'm looking at, and then I also will look at their fundamentals, right? Like why would an institution be interested in this thing, for that amount of shares? And so you look at CSIQ, and when a company has good growth, sales, earnings, the whole bit, then you begin to understand why they would buy something so much. So you just really then have to watch it for a setup at that point. Yeah. Yeah, if you're in CRK and it's pushing like this and it's day 3, I mean, sell 10-15% of your position, move your stop to break even. That's it. Nothing else you can do. Trail it on the 10 for now. That's it. Don't micromanage it. Let it work. But if you want to feel better, a little bit more comfortable about it, trim 10-15%, pay yourself, put money in your pocket, and then just hold the rest. Yeah, EMPH is looking pretty good today. I like this red day. Hopefully it'll just close just like this on the daily. Would make it really nice to buy it tomorrow. Would be really and if it closed above the 10, like if it closed at like 303 or something like that, 302 and some change, like that would be a nice look going into tomorrow. CCJ looking great too. Again, probably my favorite theme in the entire market. So my guess is a test of this upper trend line, but I have no clue. Lithium names, LTHM. Yeah, my positions are looking okay. Yeah, uranium, I believe is again, guys. How do I say this? Like my beliefs are cool, but they don't trump price action. Like I won't be stubborn, right? If I get stopped out of my CCJ, I get stopped out of my CCJ. I could give a shit less if nuclear never makes a renaissance. I don't give a shit. I'm here to make money. So, but again, I bought it at 25.61 or 64, and then I bought it again right outside this tight red day. Right? It wasn't a perfect setup, but I had a thesis on uranium, and I wanted to be part of the train, so I was just buying it at every little tight spot I could, and I might continue to do so because I'd like CCJ to be by far the largest position in my portfolio if it's going to work, because I think it can easily go up another 50% ish from here, or close to it. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to make CCJ a 5x, 6x, 7x normal size position, but how do you do that? You don't just buy that on day one, right? You buy it in a couple of chunks as the chart's working for you, and then again, you take some off into strength if you'd really like, but I got bigger, plans for what I think uranium can do, and that's just me. Again, what I think and what actually will happen could be two totally different things. And price action will be the determining factor. I'm not going to be stubborn. I'm not going to hold on to something just because I have a thesis. Man, I'd like to see Sedge close like this too. Yeah, same with EMPH. If EMPH literally closes right here, 303, just like I was saying, just above the 10, that would be such a nice look for another move higher. Buy it over today's highs would be textbook, in my opinion. Would be a nice little add-on setup. What's the high here? 308.86. Yeah. Okay. Right in there somewhere. What is it? 306.86. Whatever. Okay. Oh man. This name. Oh, that's frustrating. DVN. We were in the right place, but guys, it just goes to show you, you can pick a really good entry, but you still, if you size up even just a little bit and you can't widen your stop just a little bit for the close of the 20, which is really what I should have done, um, you know, and if I would have sized in 5% of my portfolio and then looked for another entry, up higher down the road, I would have still been in DVN. But because I took my full 10%, I didn't want to extend my risk down there, and you just get stopped out. I mean, that's trading. Get used to that. Move on. Yeah, LAC looks good. LAC is again one of my favorite lithium names. One of my favorite lithium names. Doesn't mean it's showing the best price action. ALB's doing that. SQM looks really good too. SQM looks. I mean, hopefully this thing gets right up to supply, goes sideways, and then next week, Monday or Tuesday or something, we would have a pretty awesome setup. Yep, PLL. I posted that one on Twitter. Yep. Looks good. Looks real good. Yeah, these renewables. Plug looks fine. BE looks good. Yes. Okay, yep. Everything else looks fantastic. Everything else pushed exactly how you want. Man, DVN, you dirty dog. Great work. Okay. Yeah. I mean, look. That's all you can do is learn from a mistake. So if you make it, it's on proper size, and we live and we learn. We move on. But it seems like everything else is pretty good. Everything else is properly sized. You look good here. So far, so good. The day's looking good so far. Alrighty. Have a good day at work. Yep. Yeah, we're gonna get Blaine right. She's gonna be a great swing trader, just like everybody else in this room. Yeah, EQT now. Yeah, these names, it just appears that the whole sector wanted to go higher. Yeah, my trade ideas scans are actually I built another scan for some large caps in there, but the names that you hear being yelled are all small cap names. Um, from my day trading days. Honestly, I got so used to the sound of that scanner going, that sweet robotic voice. I just never got rid of her. So I don't even focus on them anymore. I've been meaning to get rid of that scanner and stop paying for the service, but I got used to the sound. It's a sweet sound. It's a sweet, sweet sound. You just get used to it. That little voice keeps me company. Yeah, EMPH looks good. CCJ looks amazing. AR, not bad. If I think I'm in the very beginning of a big bull cycle, I want my whole portfolio working in that. Want my whole portfolio working in that sector. But I use progressive exposure. I'm not looking to buy. Everything's not a perfect setup on the same day. Very rarely does everything take off at the same time. It did earlier this year in energy, and I recognized the setup. So once one thing started working, you'd catch a little track, and I just kept buying that same day. But yeah, I want all my money in the leading space, the leading sector. What's gonna make the biggest percent move? Yeah, you're also gonna be dealing with your whole portfolio drawing down at the same time if energy names get weak, etc. But if you recognize that money's going into oil and gas, then I don't want to just take all of my money and put it to work in one name in oil and gas. I want it over 5, 6, 7, 8 names, but I want the most in the ones that take off first, right? Those are your leaders. What has the cleanest setup? Which are the most liquid, and which ones leave their base first? It's funny because why DVN is stronger than Oxy? Because DVN's been going up a whole lot longer than Oxy. Okay, DVN was going up already in December of 2020. Oxy, I guess in December of 2020 was too, but not nearly as much. I mean, even for a while, Oxy did nothing for a full year, all of 2021, literally, where DVN in 2021 was still trending higher. DVN was literally trending higher in 2021. Oxy wasn't doing that. Oxy was just getting its footing. So if people wonder why Oxy's even outperforming, or why DVN's outperforming Oxy now, it's because it's been outperforming it the entire damn time. Yeah, if I buy an oil and gas name and it begins to work, and then I buy another oil and gas name and it begins to work, you're starting to get traction in that sector. I want to keep that ball rolling as long as the markets will allow it. As long as I keep seeing progress in my positions. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to see my equity going up, and then I use my 2 eyes and ears and start to realize that it's flying, or that my equity's going up in these names. I want to then start looking for other halfway decent setups in that space because the other ones have worked. Run's starting to look a little bit better too. CRK, nice. A lot of these beaten downs. LTHM coming back. Thank God I still haven't touched JKS, man. This thing has just been the choppiest POS. But it looks like our scans on Monday weren't lying. It definitely does appear as if oil and gas had the juice. That's what scanning on Monday was telling us. Still not perfect. Yeah, it's exactly what our scans were telling us on Monday. Is that oil, energy, gas was still strong. Solar and lithium took the control yesterday, and it appears oil, energy, gas is back at it today. That's what it looks like. Yeah, Oxy not responding anything like DVN, but it's early. Meantime, all we can do is scan. If you're in stuff, monitor your positions. If you're not in stuff, look for strength. Look for setups. That's all you can do, guys. Be prepared from the day before. You know, AR was for me, and I would have wanted SWN, couldn't get it. That one's the other one that I had on watch. Literally, it was on my front screen as soon as the chat started. But you can't catch them all. Honestly, you're not gonna catch them all. So it's best to just get that idea out of your head. Meanwhile, this thing is looking like a beaut. Yeah, CELH. Now that I see your question, I need to see these tops getting taken out. Ignore what happened on 723, like this little top. Sometimes you can ignore that, but a majority of the price action is just taking place below this trend line. It needs to break up above that at the very minimum. I'm more of an interested guy over 108. If it can't get over, and I want to see it get nice and tight under that level. That's how we're going to limit risk. In the meantime, there won't be a whole lot to do. Keep it on watch. Have an alert set for when that hits. But the watch list is certainly much more green today than it was yesterday. So is the names I'm in. So that's always nice. DQ's not really working. DQ and JKS. These China Solars just aren't responding how the others are. But these lithium names, on the other hand. Here was your entry on LTHM. 3150. That's where you should have gotten in. Found support on the rising 20. Found support on the rising 20. Found support on the rising 20. Broke through that little clean pivot. Yeah, JKS is a choppy piece of shit. I've probably taken, I don't know, 5 losses at least on it. At the very least. Literally. About 5 losses on this thing. Or something to that effect. But it's, yeah. Would be nice to see this thing come down to the 20. PLL Lithium. It's crazy. This name took off when I first started trading. Right around the time I started trading June of 2020. And this thing was down here. And I remember this day where it just went absolutely bananas. Who would have thought? Nerve, for those who like this turd. Just hit my alert. Nothing to do there.
PTNYF.
URA kind of finding support right on this trend line. Nice to see. Hopefully these things tighten up under 24, 25. 24 really. Yeah. Don't lose too much sleep either about getting stopped out of stuff, guys. That's why you size in properly. That's why I'm not too mad about DVN. It's like your thesis can be right, but your timing can be off. So, what do? Nothing. You know you're gonna get screwed over a lot in the market, so you might as well just get over it quickly. Yeah, problem with the MAXN is the volume. ADR is just fine. The volume here is shit. You know, it's tough to really trade a name that's only trading $2 million a day right now. I mean, it's just not enough dollar volume versus already $70 million or 146 million for DVN and 173 for SWN versus 1.68 million dollars on this hourly candlestick for MAXN. It's just not enough. Yeah, we don't want to rush in, and we don't want to rush out. Like one of the things I'll tell most of you guys is it's really easy to figure out where to buy something, right? Like SWN, right over these tops, guys. Nothing magical, It's why we had it on watch yesterday. It's why it was on the literally front of my screen as soon as I started stream this morning. So figuring out where to buy something isn't the hard part. It's being patient with it and sizing in properly, and then figuring out where to sell, right? Like that's difficult, difficult. But I usually take the whole, patience thing out of the equation because in reality, I'm using moving averages, right? I'm looking for 3 to 5 day momentum bursts. I sell a little piece into strength. Like hypothetically, if I were in SWN from like call it 780, and it goes to like, you know, um, I don't know, 850, call it, 860, 870 in like the next handful of days, and you're up, 8 to, if you're up like 8 to 14%, and then I gotta go see if someone's at the door. Then I'd sell 15% of my position and trail the rest. 15-20% of the position and trail the rest. That's all you can do. Give me a second, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, if you catch a proper move, like I said, figuring out where to buy something is not the hard part. It's figuring out where to sell it, and then having some some smarts about being properly sized in, so that you're not shaking yourself out of a trade, so that you can be patient on little pullbacks. If you wanted to day trade, you'd oversize and you'd sell, any kind of a substantial move up, and then you'd move on with your life, right? And then you'd have to come up with another bright idea to make money again, and that's what I don't want to do. There are times when the sector will allow you to stay in things for weeks at a time, and that's really, the objective is to catch nice long moves that you don't have to overthink. You come up with one good idea, and a month later you're still bright green on it, making money. You study a chart like we looked at this a few days ago, AMR. It gave a couple of nice setups. Could have bought it down here at 16. Could have bought it at 25. Could have bought it at 52, which wasn't the cleanest setup. A little bit better of a setup right here this time around. Yeah, 52, that's actually better. That's the one. And then 65. And then it ends up tripling, in a couple months. So, I'd rather buy something that I think I can hold for months at a time in the right space. So figuring out where to buy something is not the hard part. It's figuring out where to sell it. And so sell rules take the patience, the guesswork out of it, right? 3 to 5 days, and then after you've sold, you do nothing. You then just hang out until it stops you out. And before you know it, you're in 10, 12, 15, 20 positions. Bright green on all of them, having trimmed some profits on all of them, and then just sitting in the names that are working best in the market. When to buy is the hardest for me. When to sell is really the hardest. Like once you have watched enough of these streams and you start to you need to make scanning your friend. You need to make scanning your friend. You need to look for tight, and you need to play in the right sector. You need to look for tight, and you want to be in the right sector. Buying something, like I said, like this very simple, like we did 2 days ago on DVN, where were we looking to buy DVN? Right over these days tops, right over these highs, or right over these highs. But since we kind of missed the first spot in pre-market, we go for the next day's high. And it's all fairly tight with your stop at low of day. So literally in right here, out right down there. And, I ended up getting stopped out the next day, and that's totally fine. But when a name is true, and I could have extended my stop to the 20, but, when a name is truly strong, it almost shouldn't have even come back this far down. And even though it did, whatever, no big deal. But that was the right buy spot. My timing was just off, or the market obviously did not help yesterday. Crude did not help yesterday. So you had like a lot of little things going against you. But yeah, it's the same small variations of the exact same setup over and over and over. You just have to figure out what sector is the sector that's getting money. That's what involves your work. Scanning to figure out where money's going and where money's leaving. And this STNG just won't go away. No, I'm getting a bit more aggressive on day 3 to 5. If I can get a good solid day 3, then I'm taking some more off, especially in this market, right? Like EMPH. Like EMPH, I bought just outside of this red day, 288 or 287.70, and I had some sold at 309, and I had some sold at like 318 or 317 or something like that. So yeah, I'm way more quick to peel in this crappy environment, and then I'm happy to see it set up again, and then buy more. Um, yeah, that's something I always do. But for the most part, yeah, I try to stick with Chris's sell rules through and through. I want to hold a piece for, the longest move possible. At least 30% of the original position at minimum. I'm not going to usually sell more than 60, 70%. I mean, I would rather be, just watch the gains go back than to get too aggressive on my sells and then watch this thing go absolutely berserk. I count it as day one, right? Why? Because when something breaks out, it moves quickly away from your average on the day you're buying. So let's just say SWN did go through this pivot cleanly, and you're buying at 775 or something, 778, and then it closes up at 830. It just gave if it closes up near 830 from that entry, you're up 7-8% in a day. That's a momentum burst. That's day one. And then day two it could be up at 860, and then day three up at 890. I mean, that's 3 solid days of just up from your breakout spot. Not to mention this thing's done nothing but basically put in green days leading up to that breakout. So, maybe by day two, tomorrow you're peeling 35%. That's cool. Trail a quarter until you get comfortable or until we're in a much better market. I mean, this SPY, it looks terrible. I mean, this literally looks horrible. Sorry, guys. I think I lost you there. We're back. Sorry, guys. May have lost you there. Seems like we might be back. Yeah, these could just be rejecting the declining 20 here. We'll see. Oxy and DVN do not look the same. We'll say that. And we'll put it like that. They are not acting the same. We'll see. But, guys, getting aggressive buying anything, even like myself, I'm not trying to do 10% portfolio positions out here. I'm trying to, add as something's working. And right now, not much is working. The solar still look good. Would be nice to see EMPH close right up here like this. Would be nice. But again, market's going to drag so many things down if this thing's going to continue lower. I think we had like a 90% down day or something like that in the market where 90% of the names went lower. Yeah. Well, steel no longer needs to be on watch. These names are breaking down. Either that or they'll have to build out a much longer base. But it looks wide and loose. Nothing there. Stem, it would be nice if this thing just goes sideways the rest of this week, man. Get nice and tight, right under 17 bucks. One of the things I'm working on here too is when I do take long positions and then they work and I trim. If I believe I'm in like 3, 4, 5 good names, but then the market starts to pull back, I want to play something like QID, right? I want to play something like QID as a hedge to the whole portfolio. So that's one of the things that I've been trying to study and learn is taking a net short market position. So like being short, so essentially your equity curve's not moving. So you're making money as the market's going lower on an inverse name like QID or what's the other one? Is it QLD? No, QID and starts with an S. SSD. Here's the other one. So learning to hedge your portfolio so that you could still be in a leading name like EMPH. But after EMPH hits 320 and begins pulling back, and the market starts to roll over, you can long the inverse like SDS for instance and make money on a short or while the market's failing, and then your positions are pulling back, which is fine. Because you're not even losing any money because you're making money on the short. So when you cover your short, the expectation is, hey, these positions should be finding support on the rising 10, 20, whatever. And then as they do, you cover your short, and then, your positions go back to working and your equity curve starts going back up. So that's one of the things that I've been trying to study and get better at myself. I'm not always the fastest at doing it, or, as silly as it sounds, sometimes I forget. But yeah, I need to be better. SDS and QID essentially are inverse to the market, and then QLD and SSO, follow the market essentially. So nothing to do out here again. Just be patient. We said it yesterday. Everything needs a week. Everything. Yeah, SQQQ is cool too. That's another one. That's for the Qs. Yep. No, I'll play leveraged. And this is a great suggestion too. A very great suggestion. Yeah, SQQQ is just fine. And it's good to know them. It's good to know them because I mean the whole idea here is to make money, but obviously also to protect capital and to be in the leading names. So what's going to give you the biggest percent move is being in a leading name. like FSLR. But, there's going to come a time when this name decides to consolidate a little harder, a little longer, pulls back a little bit more. It doesn't mean your beliefs about, what FSLR is capable of doing will end up being wrong. That could end up being right. But in the meantime, this thing has to pull back, reset up a new base, but you're in from way lower and you want to continue to hold it. You got to hedge your portfolios possibly sometimes, and you're going to have to, or you don't have to, but you don't want to see that drawdown in your equity. So what do? You learn to hedge. All the greatest, fund managers know exactly how to hedge, and they could have, millions of dollars in long exposure, but they're net short, and that's the smart thing to do. But again, that's something that you learn with time. That's not going to come. That's not going to come right away. It's something that I'm really just have started working on. It's hard enough for some people to just buy a breakout and hold. Now buy a breakout, hold, trim, size properly, hedge the portfolio. These are all, they just take time. Don't be in a rush. Focus on, how do I locate a good setup first? That's going to be the most, number one. How do I locate a good setup? Stem. This stem's got my attention, man. Same with tan. Tan's acting just fine. Would be nice to add more here. But yeah, sometimes the more we slow ourselves down, the more successful we're going to be. Like everybody gets into, and I remember I was this kind of way too. You become kind of a bobblehead trader. You like this setup, no, this one's not perfect, and you hop to the next one, and you just want to slow down. Just slow yourself down mentally, um, and you're gonna just make cleaner, clear decisions. And one of the best things I can advise is always gonna be proper sizing and progressive exposure. Starting to open up positions as you're gaining traction in the market and not the other way around. Get more aggressive as you gain traction in the market, not the other way around. People take 2, 3 small losses in the market, and what do they want to do? They want to size up on the fourth trade to make those 3 losses back, and that's the worst kind of trading you're gonna do. You're not thinking clearly versus getting more aggressive after you've picked 3, 4 good names that have all worked for you. You're clearly seeing things well, you're understanding the sector well, you're understanding what market conditions are, and all those little nuances, all those little factors are going to help you into making a cleaner decision on your next trade. Where's money going, where's money leaving? I don't parabolic short. I don't short. I don't short much, should I say. I have shorted in the past. I've had okay success with it, but it's not my bread and butter. My bread and butter are breakout setups, undercut rally setups, and low cheat setups. Um, Essentially small variations of the breakout. I mean, undercut rally is not a breakout setup. like you're buying as the stock's starting to turn up after it undercut a, a, a previous level that you had mapped out. Well, sometimes it could be like it breaks the previous or 2 days ago's low a day. It undercuts that area and then it rallies right from there. And then I want to buy it as it's turning back up with my stop at that low of day. So yeah, I'll trade an undercut rally. AR could have been an undercut rally setup right in here. Had you been paying attention to it and you've been wanting to trade the undercut rally. So, as soon as it undercut 37.36, so these lows from down here on this day, and then it undercuts it, and then as soon as it starts to rally, you're in on this green candle. Essentially, as it pushes back through that line with your stop now at low a day. Right? And there's your risk. And then now, there's your reward so far. Risk, reward. And yeah, that's an undercut rally setup right there. It undercut this big green day's low. Undercut it and then rallied. If it's a stock you're paying attention to, if it's a sector you believe should still go higher, undercut rally setups work great in bear markets. Breakouts don't traditionally work super well in bear markets, which is exactly what we're in, guys. So, yeah, undercut rally is a great setup in this kind of environment, and that's why I've learned it. There's a guy on Twitter who teaches it pretty well. I think his name is, who I learned it from. Credit goes to where credit is due. Scott Redler, Red Dog T3. I'm sure some of you guys have heard of him. He's got a pretty big following. Scott Redler teaches the undercut rally. Added it to my playbook because it works well. Undercut rally, breakout setup, low cheat setup. Low cheat was learned from Mark Minervini. Yeah, so Oxy, Oxy on this setup here was just, it kind of undercut like it was going to fail, got right back into the range, and then just went sideways. And, this 66 level was almost dead obvious, and I said it on Twitter. As soon as it starts to break over 66, I'm going to get aggressive. And, yeah, I mean, it was a perfect setup. It's in the right space, and other names kind of gave away the strength in the sector. NF like this is on 822, 819, sorry, and names like NFE had already been going. NFE was up here. When or up here when. Oxy started going. So look at what NFE was already doing in the same space. GLNG, another one. So the sector had already tipped its hand. GLNG. Yeah, the sector had already tipped its hand. Look at where GLNG was when Oxy took off. Up at 28, from 2022 or 23. So I just saw a perfect set, and then I used a smaller time frame as well to get myself in. So I actually started my buying even lower. I was looking to really long it over this day's high at 65.29, and I saw an even nicer setup on a smaller time frame. So I started to buy like 64.5, 65, 65.5, 66. So by the time I was done buying, the stock was already working for me, right? Because every one of these hourly candles is green. And so I was like buying smaller, buying smaller, buying smaller, buying smaller, buying smaller, buying smaller. And I just kept buying, and I just kept bringing up my average. Yeah, I got the alert for STEM. Yeah, it's exactly what you expect, guys. Look at the volume coming through on this hourly candlestick as it breaks through that pivot. It's exactly what you want to see. And oftentimes, if I don't want to use low of day at stop because, that stop is too far down, I just use the low of the hourly candlestick. It depends how much I sized in. It's another little trick I like to use, guys. Yeah, stem looks fine. Stem actually looks pretty damn good. This is the one that's got me twisted. Very frustrating. Oh well. Hopefully that bodes well for the other two names that I just grabbed today, Oxy and AR. Again, I'd prefer to be in DVN. DVN is one of the true leaders in the space. Fang's another one, but Fang's not perfect. Not yet. DVN, on the other hand, boy. Can't beat on that one enough because it's probably going to end up going higher. But anyway, irrelevant. Just got to keep scanning. Can't get overly frustrated about something that's out of your control. It just doesn't matter anymore. You're acting well. I'd like to see Euro build out all next week. If we can get right back to 24 and just chop around, get tight again, let the 20 catch up, just let these uranium names, let their charts match up perfectly with my thesis. Everything in my portfolio is green today, so that's nice. Oh, wait a second. Here we go. Yeah, I did not add to my stem position either. We just left it as is. Sedge starting to look really nice. One could use a few more days in my opinion, but you might not get it. Might not get it. I personally don't like it. I really wouldn't be interested in the thing until up here, and I don't really want $10. Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. It's a $300 stock, so how much could you really buy? Even if you thought about it like that, like even if you had a $1 million account and you wanted to put 100 grand to work, how much of this are you really buying? 300 shares with a $10 or $12 risk. $3,500 on $1 million account. You should be able to sleep at night if you were wrong. It's the way I look at it. Sizing's everything. These bio names still look pretty decent too. RYTM, fresh highs again. Good God. Oh, yeah. Yes. Great suggestion. I will do that. Honestly, it's not even something I thought about. Didn't even cross my mind. I will read the questions before answering so that when the video is uploaded to YouTube, you guys can understand what the hell was being asked on the video. It's my average. Okay. Yeah. Man, this name is acting right. It's too bad. Such a kick in the nuts. But guys, get used to this. Get used to getting stopped out a ton. Stop acting well. EMPH looks like it's not going to wait for any add-ons. And sometimes, guys, that's what makes it. It's such a subjective thing with swing trading. Like EMPH may never end up setting up again, and I've already sold a really nice chunk. 309, exactly where we are right now, and 318, 317. Up here. So it may never set up again and then just go to 330, 340, 350, 360. And you're going to look back and be like, dang, it never set up to add. And, now you're missing out on tons of money because you decided to micromanage it, sell more. Even, I understand market conditions weren't great. So it's probably a smarter thing to lock up gains. But, if EMPH never sets up and then just often floats up to 400 without ever getting a perfect setup, I will be super frustrated. You catch a $30 move, great. You're leaving $60, $70 on the table with what was, 70% of your original position, now on the sidelines. That's not going to feel too good. And, every now and again, you're going to get that little outlier trade where you are just patient and it never breaks your rules and then it goes crazy. And, that's what's really going to move the needle in the portfolio. Not micromanaging. It's going to be the handful of outlier trades that really do the trick. JSPN. But it is nice to know that we were in the right, that we had our eyes in the right space this entire week, right? We've had our eyes on energy names, DVN obviously in particular. I'm sure you guys have heard me mention about 500 times now. But, strength just is so painfully obvious sometimes, and a chart just wants to do everything in its power to shake the tree before she ends up going. And that's just, it's just typical, which is, and one of the things that I've seen Mark Minervini do is he wouldn't have been stopped out of this. He would have made sure he was sized in so perfectly on this entry that his stop would have been like this pivot low. He would have been getting in at 69 and he would have used, 66 as his stop, $4 stop versus my 40-cent stop. So he wouldn't have been stopped out of this. Or he'd have used 67, a $3 stop, which is, 3%. That's it. And, where I was risking 0.7%. So, widening the stop is very important. I personally take a little bit bigger size, so I a little more cautious about, stopping out, but it is something that I have to work on. It's mandatory because, missing moves like this, with a perfect 69, 65 entry, you don't want to be missing this. Not for a name you believe can be a leader. So, and again, you'd be up 4.5% right now when you were risking, if you used the close below the 22, 2%. So you'd already be up 2-1 on your money, or 2-1 risk reward. In a chart that's clearly uptrending, in a sector that's clearly getting money. Again, sometimes things are so obvious it hurts. EOG just hit an alert. Old alert. Yeah, this one could use a little sideways personally, but not bad. Not bad. Another resource name. AR, EQT. Yeah, EQT looks great. No position in this one, but definitely a leader in the nat gas space. SWN. How's this one looking? Still looking great. Guess it's not too surprising. Yeah, Plug's getting its shit together. This Plug name's getting its, it really is. It's nice to see. Charge point too. Charge point's starting to flatten out. It's nice to see. Yes. Yep. Staggered stops. Definitely something else I could have done. Yeah, I've studied it. I don't do it as much, but yes. So basically, yesterday, what that means is if I use staggered stops, basically, okay, I bought 69.63 with my stop being at 69.30 or whatever, 40 cent stop. Okay? And then it broke my low yesterday, fine. I cut half of my position, and the other half would be for a close below the 20, below the key moving average. So if it doesn't close, you keep your other half. You can re-add it later, you know. But no, no, I didn't do it, and that's a great suggestion. Something I could certainly practice for the future as well. I mean, guys, I've only been swing trading a year, not a decade, so I still make tons of mistakes, and yeah, that's why I continue to study. How is it that Mark does it? How does Roy do it? How do you hedge your portfolio? How do you decrease your exposure when you're wrong, but not cut the whole thing? You know, because maybe I eat a small little tiny loss on half my position, but now my other half's got me bright green. Any loss that I might have taken is now in the green. So, yeah, you ate a 50 cent loss, and now your half of your original position is still up 2-3 bucks. Yeah, staggered stops are just fine. It's another method to the madness. Staying with something. But again, it all comes down to your position sizing. It all comes down to position sizing. It's really the only thing that matters. Yep. It's an interesting concept, the staggered stops. And you know what? It would have, in this scenario, it would have worked, right? Again, guys, I'd have been buying right over these tops, so 69.70s ish, and then stop at, 69.20. So you're risking 50 cents. And, um, for instance, I had 3,000 shares yesterday. So, cut 1,500, and you eat a $750 loss, but then your last 1,500 shares right now are up, 2.5 bucks, 3 bucks. So whatever loss you took, you got that back and then some, and you're still in the chart that's uptrending, and then you're still looking for maybe a possible setup to re-add those shares. Yep. It's a great concept. Minervini's got his shit together. So when he says stuff like that, it's good to pay attention to. I don't practice it nearly as much. I really don't. Maybe I'm more of a greedy bastard. I buy the whole cake at one time, and I set my stop at low. If it gets hit, it gets hit. If not, not. But I could be even more patient myself with with progressive exposure, you'd say. Uh, it depends. It depends on the sector. It depends on how early in the move I believe it is. It depends, if I believe the stock's a leader. It depends on their fundamentals. Guys, I don't ignore the fundamentals. There's a reason that a chart's holding up. There's a reason that charts hold up, and then I when I'm doing my key list, the night before, or my list from the night before, I like to know that the fundamentals are solid on any companies that I may be considering. You know, stem working well. AR, nice. AHR still going for you, brother? Yeah, not no. It was a perfect pullback. It was a perfect pullback and held the ascending 20. The dailies moving averages are really starting to shape up. The pullback was on decreasing volume. If that's something that you really are into. Yeah, Nova Stem was another one. Stem, AR, everything's nice and bright green today. Yeah, it's not perfect. I mean, it's up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 days in a row. There's nothing to like, there's nothing to do there. Yeah, it would need to go sideways for a nice week. Tesla, huh? Having itself a day. One of the names that we were talking about, really getting its shit together. Really getting its shit together, despite people's opinions. I just use Market Smith like a boomer. Yeah, I don't mark the earnings on my charts. What it was and surprise and this and that or the other. It's relevant. I mean, it's nice to know the move that it made because of these surprise earnings. That kind of info can help you for later, but I don't mark up my charts too much more than that. I look up a lot of my names on MarketSmith before they are on my watch. All right, I'm gonna read something, guys, and pay attention closely because this is important. So, major increase and acceleration in quarterly earnings per share were the dominant reason behind the success of almost all the models that were studied here. 80%, 87% of the models had increases of 30% or more in earnings for the quarter prior to their moves. 71% of the models reported increases of 50% or more in earnings for the quarter prior to their moves. 67% of the models had acceleration in earnings percentages over 3 quarters prior to their moves. Earnings increase shown in the following quarter after the initial breakout was usually very high. 86% of models had increases of 30% or more in sales for the quarter prior to their moves. 63% of the models had increases of 50% or more in sales prior to their moves. So, right around 40%, right in between, it seems to be the sweet spot. You want to see an increase in sales and earnings. You know, um, and right here, the majority of the leading stocks generally rise from leading industries. 37% of the stock's price movement is directly tied to the performance of the stock's industry group. Another 12% owes to the strength of the overall sector. A sector is a collection of related industry groups, obviously. And so overall, this means nearly 50% of the leading stock's price performance is linked to the industry and its sector. Learning to track those sources of strength is simple, but requires a little practice. So when you guys hear me talk about sector, what industry, whatever, that's important. It's very important. It's the reason why your stock's going to give such a big move. Again, we went over this one. Why does everybody think Sun W made such a big move? From 160 to 460. Why is that? Because it's a great company? Really? Super great. But then it ends up giving, a 200%, 300%, no, 200% move, from the lows. Why? Because it's in the right group. It's in the right industry. Solar. So something to always remember. A piece of shit setup, even a 2-3 star setup can make a really big percent gain move. Why? Because it's in the right space. Not because it all of a sudden overnight became a great company. It has almost very minimal to do with it. And again, if it ends up making a really big move, if it ends up being a leader like FSLR and EMPH, well, it's because it's got great fundamentals, and a reason that it gives a really big move is because of those fundamentals, plus a really solid technical setup. But, a turd goes on to make a big move like Sun W because it's in the right space. Tesla, much better today, huh? Almost surprised market's not rallying a little bit harder, to be totally truthful. Doesn't necessarily matter, but would be nice to see it rally a little harder. Come on, Uncle Warren. Stem. Very nice. So you see, guys, you buying something right over these tops. It's like figuring out, where to buy isn't the problem. It's, you know, understanding position sizing, respecting your stop, being patient, trimming some into strength, and then just holding the rest until you're stopped out. Figuring out where to buy something is the easy part. Um, yeah, Wolf, you need to be patient. You know, you need to be patient. Where's the tight entry? I don't see. You could have bought the EP, and the EPs work. You could have bought this first little pivot right through these tops with your stop at low of day. But Schwab gave a similar setup. The EP setup hasn't broken down. EMPH obviously, notably. Um, LNTH obviously way earlier in the year. LNTH looks like it's ready to go too. It's crazy. Down here. So with Wolf, now that it's done its EP and you didn't grab the EP, where is the tight day? Where is the tight day? I don't see one. It's now back up above all moving averages, and that's great. But I need a tight day. It's the only way to limit risk. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of random buying. You need a clear pivot or a clear over. You need a tight day, or something like this. And these are setups that you can learn, right? So down here, wicks right off of where almost your entry would have been, early on, and then it pulls back. It bounces right off of it. It does it again on this day. And, this is a fairly tight day. Even though the range came down pretty low, the open to close price is pretty tight. So when I see something like that, I would consider buying it over those days' highs. 109.98 or 110 basically. Right here with your stop at low of day. And these lithium, but otherwise there hasn't been a setup. Yeah, it needs to tighten up. Yeah, EMPH's a monster. It's making me regret ever having sold any, but it is what it is. SQM's another one. It looks like it wants to break its all-time highs, which is too bad. Would be nice to see this thing go sideways and just build out the bigger end of this base to the right-hand side for another 3, 4, 5 days. I can't buy this personally. But these lithium names, LTHM. I was slightly right. I chased this name up a little bit. Was slightly right on it, but not no more. I was actually using the close below the 20. Should have done that with DVN. Funny. Do that with one, but not the other. I'm a jackass. LAC, LTHM, ALB's probably sitting at new highs. Yep. RYTM. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Oh, would have been nice to not get stopped out on this thing. Who knows how high this thing wants to go. Yeah, it would be nice to see our markets push up a little bit here. They got absolutely splattered yesterday. And seeing the market push up, it would help our names. Right? It would help the names that we're in. PAGP. Yeah, this is a nice daily base here. I just got an alert for this thing, and it's a big daily base, big weekly base. I really do like bases like this. Don't necessarily love the action going into this resistance, but it's such a clear supply level. I don't know. It's really most likely just a pass. But nice base. Yeah. just minding my own positions for now. Honestly, I grabbed a couple new ones today in Oxy and AR after having been stopped out of DVN, unfortunately, yesterday. Would have been nice to own DVN, AR, and Oxy. That would have been sweet. But sometimes the stock gods aren't that forgiving. Really, it's me being a scrub. Should have extended my stop, but stem working out cool. Tan starting to look so sweet. Honestly, perfect chart. Nice flag. Yeah. Sedge looks good too, but it would need a couple more days, in my opinion. A few more. Yeah, ARLP is a nat gas name too, I think. Yeah, ARLP is nice. ARLP CEIX has been an absolute monster. It's nice to see this thing come down to the 50 finally. Gosh, I was gonna buy this thing right here at 50. Never did. This thing undercut, popped right back up, tennis ball style, what we talked about yesterday. And then technically, it basically went sideways for 1, 2, 3 days. And I was going to buy it basically right there, right over those two tops. And I didn't. And it's gone. That's tough. Yeah, ARLP's in the right space. I mean, these are all in the right space. These are all in the right space. ARLP looks fine. ARLP, even if it takes out yesterday's highs, might not be such a bad one with your stop at low of day. Basically resting right on the 20 today. Yeah, that's not bad at all. It's a touch thin for me personally. It's only been trading 100, 200,000-300,000 shares a day. Looks like a few 100,000, maybe even 1,000,000, but for a smaller account, it's a nice chart. Won't call it perfect, but it's in the right space, and that's got a nice setup. I mean, you don't really got to think about anything much more than that. Is it tight for you to limit your risk is all that matters. Yeah, it's thermal coal. I mean, it could even be, it could even be buyable today, potentially. Could be. Found support on the rising 20 yesterday. Found support on the rising 20 today. Starting to break through yesterday's highs. Yeah, ideally it builds out just a little bit more, but, trading almost nothing's ever ideal, it seems like. And in STEM, no, I'm not trimming shit. I mean, you're up 4%, but you could trim something, but I wouldn't. I mean, again, I own some for much lower, personally, right down here, in the mid 14s. But even I haven't trimmed out a damn thing. AXSM finally hit the alert. Another nice one. Tried to fail yesterday, bounced right off the 20. And now it's hitting the alert from the previous 2 days highs. It's not perfect. This stop is kind of wide too. $3 risk. Again, I always know what I'll lose before I get in the trade. So even if you think you want 10% of your account in something, you might have to size down. Otherwise your risk is, too big or more than you'll really be comfortable losing. But yeah, guys, really, the setups are just small variations of the same thing. And then you say, well, what space is AXSM in? Well, AXSM's a biotech name. Then you have to ask yourself, is this the only biotech name that's going up? No. RYTM, TH, so it's like bios are clearly getting money, right? You don't overthink it more than that. It's in the right space. It has a nice setup. It's fairly tight. You can limit your risk upon entry. If you're in solar, oil, gas, biotech, renewables, like it appears to be the right sector. And the rest is just, opinions. A bunch of useless opinions. What a bounce for this name today, huh? Holy shit. Holy shit. Unbelievable. And look at all that volume today. You got every single dip buyer on planet Earth trying to buy this thing, and you have every single short seller who's ever shorted this thing on the way up. Literally, probably anything in here, if you shorted anything from 11 or 1050 to 13 all the way to 16 and even in the 20s. I mean, literally every single short in this chart got an opportunity to get an exit back at flat or to make money, and then every single dip buyer bought this thing. That's why you're getting massive volume like this. That's too funny. ALT just had this nasty gap down overnight and then 100% bounce. That's because if you shorted this thing at 10, 11, 12, you saw green, or if you shorted this thing at 18, 19, 20, you're really healthy green. And then every single dip buyer on planet Earth buying it right off the 200, and then just, no setup, obviously, but this is an abnormal green candlestick with abnormal fucking volume. Nice move, man. And crazy. Not a setup I usually take, but nice to see it work.
Yes, yes.
I keep hurting my brain figuring out how I could have done better on this freaking name. DVN. Sucks. I need to do better. Be better. Figure that out. Maybe have sized in a little smaller, given it their 20, and then, this was even a level that I was talking about a couple days ago, this 7160 yesterday. Would have been a nice ad spot instead of taking full position right away. But it's tough. It's all hindsight. Yeah, PDD's acting fine. Plugs acting fine. Charge points acting fine. We've got some nice charts. Runs acting fine. Celsius coming back. Becky, I probably will avoid you altogether, but I like the name. Oak Street Health. This one looks good too. I actually know a couple of doctors from Oak Street Health here in Chicago. Hmm. Global E Online, huh? Interesting. It's just choppy. Nothing yet. Siga. Still going to die. Yikes. A close here on BSM like this would be a better look, and then another little red day tomorrow, inside bar, would be cool. It's just thin, kind of slow actually too. Forget it. CRK, man. Very nice. JKS looks better than DQ. I mean, there's that. As choppy as it is, looks much better than DQ. And another thing too, so like on a name like Oxy, right? So this 6688 is my average, and if this thing doesn't, okay, because I like to buy breakouts, right? So I thought I bought a halfway decent spot, but if it doesn't really begin to work, I won't like I don't take such massive size that I can't just take my exit. Um, like if this thing is like right at my average towards the end of day, it didn't really break out, and I can just cut it for a flat trade and then reevaluate tomorrow, as it maybe takes out these tops here, right? Would I be a little frustrated that I missed out on that little potential gain? Sure, but I want to buy something as it's truly breaking out away from my average and quickly. Example, like, imagine this still was intraday and yesterday didn't happen on DVN and you were looking to buy it, through this first little level, which would have been, the previous day's high. You're expecting a push away from your average. Then you can comfortably hold something overnight. Then you're not worried about the gap down, the washout, the, whatever, because you're in control of the, it's working clearly and pushed far away enough from your average on day one. But on something like Oxy, if this hangs out right at my average or just a little bit below, yeah, my stop is always low of day. But if by the end of the day it hasn't pushed away from my average, you don't have to hold it overnight. That's the one benefit of not having a incredibly massive portfolio where, it takes effort to get yourself into something. Because, you just bought 400,000 shares or something, or 100,000, 200,000, whatever. Like if you had a stupid massive portfolio and you wanted to put 10, 12 million to work in Oxy, you're buying 200,000 shares. You don't want to micromanage it, but I'm buying a couple thousand. So I can easily get out, eat the $200 loss instead of the couple $1,000 loss, and I could sleep much better at night. And I just reevaluate tomorrow. Because I bought what I believe to be a clean pivot where, volume and price should take us higher away from that average. If it doesn't, I just take my exit. No harm, no foul. Reevaluate the next day. Whatever. Eat the few hundred instead of catching a little gap down on something. Because there's a difference, right? If DVN gaps down, okay, so if Oxy gaps down and your average is, 66, 88, and it closes at 66.90, you got a 2 cent cushion. If it gaps down, you're not going to be too happy about it. But if DVN gaps down and you owned a 69.64 and it's up at 72.5, if it gaps down, the likelihood of still being green are high. So yeah, I that's another thing that I like to do, just so you guys can understand my mentality a little bit. Like I'm always really thinking risk first. Like I will get stupid aggressive on certain positions, like on Oxy the first time around. Guys, I normally buy 200K positions. I had like almost 18,000 shares of Oxy at 65. All right, so like I will take $1 million plus position if I believe my risk is that low, if I can get myself in safely, piece myself in. But what did I get? I got an insane move away from my average the first time I bought it. Right? So I was so in the driver's seat it didn't even matter if we gapped down, which is exactly what we did. And yeah, it wasn't fun watching $80,000 go back overnight. It wasn't. But guess what ended up happening by day 3? Right back through those highs. So, you know, um, that is part of my mentality. I will uh, cut a position if it doesn't really break away far enough from my average. Small loss, small green, whatever. But my expectation is I get a push, right? So like again, if I bought SWN today and I bought it 775 and it closes, 810, 815, I'm not too worried about it. But if it closes at, if I'm at 775 and it's going to close at like 780, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and cut that sucker. I'm not going to wait for low a day to hit or whatever. I'm not going to, if it's up 5-10 cents from my average, there's no sense in risking a gap down. I own a handful of shares, something I can easily buy back tomorrow. Easily. So yeah, just take that into consideration, when it comes to your own trading. None of us here probably trade with such big size that we can't just exit to get back in. But there's no sense in, catching like I said, you catch a gap down in DVN, and it's way up here compared to your average, or Oxy closes up here and it's like hanging out on your average, even slightly red right now. I'm just going to eat that little loss. There's zero need to, catch a gap down and DVN also gap down, and then you're just staring at a big loss, overnight for no reason. A stock that your timing is important, as a breakout trader. You're trying to time the breakout. And it doesn't mean that Oxy won't go. It just means that your timing was wrong. Similar with DVN. Doesn't mean that it wasn't going to go. It just means that I bought it on the wrong day. I bought it on Monday. And it's not even that I bought it on the wrong day, per se. I just was sized up, more than not than I should have been. But, I was just sized up a little bit more. And I respected my low of day stop. So, yeah, I got stopped out, like, right on this green candle. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel too bad. It closed even lower. And, it just is what it is. We're going to have to learn to live with that every now and again. Until I learn to adjust my stops or widen my stops a little bit, or, maybe do what Minervini teaches, hey, cut half at the low of day, but until it maybe closes below the 20, then you cut the other half. So instead of, eating a $1,500 loss, maybe you eat $750 and then, it then ends up working for you, and now you're green that $750 plus. Yeah, yes. So Q would hold on through overnight as long as absolutely he does. But what's the difference between Q and all of us? Pretty sure none of us have 80, 90, 100 million in buying power. Right? So getting, like, if he wants to put 10% to work in a name, guys, buying, it's $5 to $10 million in anything is fucking hard. It's really hard. It's not easy. And it's why I can still get away with trading with E-Trade and Trade Zero, right? These commission-free brokers. But there's a reason why you have to go to Centerpoint and Lightspeed and, direct access brokers. When you want to take size like that, you need to get your fills, and you need to get them right then and right there, and, for the size that you need. And you can't just be micromanaging your trades when you take size that big. You just cannot be. It's just a no. So yeah, I mean, yeah, he can't micromanage his shit. He can't. He's got to stay put, and he's got to respect his stops 24/7. We, on the other hand, having this little small account, not small account edge, but like, guys, anything under On a liquid name like Oxy, that's, liquid names that are like 50, $60, it's not hard to get 1.5 million or 2 million bucks into them. So, anything under 20 million or 10 million, it's still small account edge in my eyes. It's still fairly small account. I know that sounds crazy to hear, but buying 20,000 shares of Oxy is easy to put 1 million bucks in at work. If you got 20 million, it's there you go. There's your 5%. Like getting 40,000 shares of Oxy when the first hourly candlestick prints 4 million shares. It's not difficult, which is why we want to stick to liquid names. But again, guys, I got 3,000 shares, right? So like getting out to then get back in is no big deal. At least not for me. I don't view it like I much rather preserve my capital. And yeah, exactly. And I've watched plenty of Christian streams. He will absolutely size down. Like he just says, I cut some, into this weakness. Like I've heard him say it. I've heard him say it. So yeah, it is something that even he still does, because even he doesn't want to catch a gap down on full size. So fuck that. If your expectations on breakout day is that the thing actually breaks out. If it doesn't actually break out, your timing's off. Either your timing's off, you're not in the right sector, the overall market really sucks, something, right? But if the company's got good fundamentals and they're in the right sector and they had a nice setup, you have an expectation for what happens as this breaks through this clear level. If that doesn't happen, what's wrong? Is the timing wrong? Is the sector wrong? Is something's up. And, that's for you to try to figure out. And a lot of times scanning the market will help. If Oxy's not going, if DVN's going, but Oxy's not, and I start to like look around at XOM's going, CVX, PXD, how's the ETF looking, XLE. For instance, if a DVN was like the only name going and all these others were kind of breaking down and acting weak, I'm going to be more cautious, per se, with Oxy. I'm going to look around and be like, what, DVN's kind of the only name acting well. So yeah, I'll trim some off of Oxy, because it's the only one that's acting well. And, it could be the anomaly. It could be like the leader in the space and like maybe the general, and it'll be the last one to get shot down in the space. You don't know. And I do truly try to treat every position as its individual, as its own thing. But, I expect certain price action through certain levels with stocks in the right sector. It's just what it is. Sector. I mean, you guys will hear me say this shit all the time. There's a reason I don't want to buy Becky. As nice of a little setup as this is, nice little move up, flattening out, clear little daily. I mean, it's a little cup and handle setup. There's a reason I don't really want to touch Becky. Because Becky's a real estate service. Okay, does that fit the theme with what's going on in the market? No. Oil, energy, gas, solar, uranium, like that's where the money's going. So, I got certain expectations for things in certain sectors. And if we're not getting that, then again, I will gladly take my exit, small, tiny red, and and we'll go from there. We reevaluate. But again, if I'm in at 66.88 on Oxy and it's going to close, 60, and it's going to give me a nice little dollar cushion, 67.60 or, $68 even. Yeah, I'm gonna just obviously hold. I'm not gonna trim it. It's pushed far enough away from my average that I'm like, worst case scenario, gap down, break even, whatever. Similar to my thought process on DVN. DVN. DVN gave me such a nice push on day one, was the expectation when it broke out. And then, I was like, okay, we're not trimming anything, and it gapped down right to where I bought it, really. But no harm, no foul. Small red trade, small, because I was sized improperly. Guys, it's like a $1,500 red. I could live with that kind of red every day, all day. Doesn't matter. Sí, porfa, si puedes. Cleaning lady's here today. It's nice. She was the one knocking on the door earlier. Got good guard dogs. Let me know someone was at the door. But yeah, I should have done better at managing DVN. I just didn't. One that I will learn from for sure. Guys, this peach vibe Celsius, it's the best one. It's the best one. Peach vibe. By far the best one. Yeah, hopefully DVN doesn't pull the same shit it did yesterday. Tomorrow. Would start to get frustrated about that one. Or maybe not. Who knows? A fresh opportunity to get in. Who knows? We're just nice to see this sector stay strong. So many setups, honestly. So many setups. SM was one that hit yesterday. We didn't touch it. Or 2 days ago on Monday, didn't touch it. And of course today it's going. CHK, LNG. Oh man, this LNG here is a fucking monster. Unbelievable. Never really saw a clean setup on LNG. That's why I never bought it. Never saw a clean setup at all. You know, here was a really nice tight day, but I just don't think I'd scan for it, obviously. But yeah, man. These names have really been, this name in particular has really just been impressive. $50+ move from the 200. Unbelievable, man. No, if it's a real bull market, I buy full 10-15% positions right away. And here's the thing, if you're in a real bull market, when you scan, you're coming across like 100 setups. You know, you've really got the luxury to be super picky. You know, here, you know, you're almost like you get what you get. You know, and live with it. Um, so yeah, it sucks in a bear market. You have to be much more selective. Your stock selection has to be absolutely on point. Your sizing has to be absolutely on point. It's probably best to pyramid into positions. Um, but in a real bull, fuck, man. Like what I was seeing in 2020, like when I first started trading, I mean, I wish I understood the setup that I did now. I mean, I really do. With the kind of equity that I have now, man, I'd be rich, really rich, more rich. It'd be great. Because guys, the setups have been the exact same for, you know, 100 years. You know, guys, the setups have been the exact same for 100 years. Just it's just the facts. You know, supply and demand, the dynamics of it haven't changed much. So all the participants in the market have changed, but the setups have stayed the same. And you literally get to be super picky when you're in a market like that. Like, you know, I did. I didn't catch the whole bull market, but I did catch names like Hut over here. So, you know, this thing had this like downtrend break. I remember it like the day it happened, and I had Hut down here. You know, got right back up above moving averages, pulled back, digested the move, and I took it for this breakout of 5, basically. Yeah, Hut was a nice one. Hut was good over here, right there. Yeah, Hut was nice. I like did some DD on bid F. I was early on bid F, but I had a really big win on bid F as well. I bought bid F early. I bought bid F like I don't remember where the hell I bought bid F. I think I started to break all sorts of my rules and buy it like in these up here and then some more down here. Like I just did my DD and was a stubborn investor. A stupid mistake. I was looking at pretty ugly red too, but I did hold. And if you had you just waited, as soon as it got back up above moving averages and took out these tops or gapped up out of this little range or any one of these days to have gotten in was great. And it doubled in a very, very, very short period of time. It's just basically the same variations of the same shit. Mara gave a really nice setup too. I remember Mara, right over here, right here. Move up, got tight, in the 50s. Again over here too, in the 30s when things were even tighter. This nice little downtrend break. Yeah, and you get long on that day as it breaks the downtrend. Right there. 33 or 34s, 34 and a half, somewhere in that range on 10.5 would have been the day to get long. And then, look at the move it ends up giving you. Very clean. Yep, I was part of it. That's actually when I kind of started swing trading, right around this time. And then I remember Roblox came right after. Won't forget Roblox right around this time, November, December. Massive gap up, pull back. I actually bought it on this day. I remember buying it right on this day, right over those tops. Here, it's perfect. Perfect little buy. I remember listening to Q on stream talking about how frustrated he was, and he knew he should have free bought this name as well, and he didn't. And I was like, ooh, and he was on stream. He's like, man, I knew I should have. And I was like, hell yeah, I did. And I felt good about myself, and that's just when I was like, okay, we're on to something here. But yeah, I had some sells at like 125, 3 to 5 day momentum bursts. Had a sell at 125 and then stopped out the rest on the super ugly red candle. Once this like did a bearish engulfing and then took out the next day's low, I was like, something's wrong. And I literally exited the rest at 120. Something felt wrong. That red candle was just way too big. So, 140 to 120 in a day, it's abnormal. And sure enough, broke all the way down. VIP Shop Holdings. The fuck are these guys? PDD, Plug, Becky, LAC. So there's some nice charts popping up on my scan today. Not bad. VIP's kind of shitty, but, not bad. PDD, much better. Plug, much better. Becky, can't even do it. LAC lithium name, great. ISEE, still holding up great, but no setup. JKS on the scan. No setup. Not yet. I mean, something's got to change here. SPWR, DQ, and Futu. Yeah, Futu won't be bad when it takes out these tops. Set an alert. But yeah, there's not a ton to do. Just manage what you have. AR's working so far. Don't want to get overly excited since it's hardly working. CCJ, though, I fucking love this name. I hope this uranium sector goes absolutely ballistic. The world needs nuclear, and they need it like yesterday. Yeah, I mean, I love the guys over at Goblin Gang. They're great. I love dropping in there to drop ideas. But they're all day traders. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with day trading. You just got to be really good, and you got to be a professional button clicker I mean, as silly as that sounds, you gotta. It's tough because the percent move that something gives you in a day versus or in an hour and 20 minutes versus a week, a month, you know AMR, 2 months, like the percent gain you're gonna get. Swing trades can be way bigger, way bigger. And like Celsius was almost a six-figure trade for me. you know it's like you can have great days like that, day trading, but I did this shit on tiny size, man. Like I literally did this on super super tiny size. But it almost doubled for me. So you don't need a massive size to make six figures. But with day trading, you do, because you're trying to take advantage of a smaller percent move. So you're literally more like you're actually overstressed when you're day trading, because you're stressing out your portfolio and you're stressing out yourself because you're taking a position bigger than not bigger than you can mentally or emotionally handle, but you're fighting super hard for that average. Like you don't want to see red. If like you're only trying to catch a 30-cent move, but you're trying to make 10 grand on it, you got to get 30, 40,000 shares, for you to make that 10 grand. And that can be uncomfortable. And then if you're down, if you get a little quick dump and you're down 20 cents, like you just lost 5, 6 grand. Yeah, fuck that. Like I remember I traded VTNR and I owned it at 518, right down here. Never forget it. Right here. It gapped up and then it came back and then it broke right through this little previous day's high again, which is where I wanted to buy it on this day. But I didn't buy it because of that gap up. And I just avoided it, because there's a gap up on no news. And I've mentioned this in here before. I'd rather rip through that level. So I ended up buying it the very next day. And I had 20,000 shares. Look at the move it ended up giving. So I did awesome on that trade. Yeah, exactly. You have to be a professional button clicker. And fuck that. I'm a professional scanner and I can figure out where money's going, where money's leaving. Much easier. A skill anybody can acquire. You just got to scan. And then you figure out what's tight in your book. And again, you watch enough of me or read enough Minervini or watch enough, Pradeep or Kulamagi or you're gonna figure out where, like, what a nice opening range high breakout is, what a decent tight little consolidation looks like, etc. Yeah, it could be anything for an opening range high. I buy right at the range break. Yeah, I like to try to buy right at the range break, and I like to see volume coming through right away. A little part of my screens you guys aren't seeing are my level twos, and it's about the only time I do use level two. Um, I'll look at level two. I'll start to make sure that good order flow is going through there. I'll start to make sure that the stock's getting healthy volume going through the pivot. And again, my expectation is that it breaks through that level. But again, I'm not sitting here staring at Oxy level two. It's like, okay, DVN's holding up well. I bought Oxy over the previous day's high. I have an expectation for what should happen if these oil energy names show strength for the rest of the day. So, typically over the previous day's high is my favorite entry. But again, I just gave VTNR as an example. I didn't buy it over the previous day's high. I bought it right through the other day's high, because I wanted to buy it over 222's high. It was a really nice tight red candlestick, but then the next day it gapped over, so I just passed. I was like, well, if it goes, it goes. And then, of course, it ended up literally giving a 60, 70-cent move. I was like, dang. And then the next day it actually gapped lower, and then it ripped through that pivot level. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me try it again. I was like, now I will take a stab at it. And I only had I had like a 518 average, and I was risking 18 cents a share on 20,000 shares. $3,600. And then, I remember selling some like in the 7s or 8s, somewhere in this area, right up here. And then I was actually able to widen up my stop. And I ended up, the rest of my sells were on this backside, somewhere down here. Yeah, I didn't nail the top. I don't know where the top's going to be. But sold some at 8, sold some at 13s, 14s, and I was done with it. and I was waiting for, and again, when it got back up above these moving averages, I was waiting for a tight day. Did I get one? Nope. Maybe here, but it wasn't great. I needed more of a right hand side. These candles are still wide and loose. Maybe down here. Halfway decent. Where's it at? Right down there. But it wasn't perfect. But a higher low on the daily. But I didn't rebuy it down there. This could be considered a pullback buy if you'd have bought it on 727. If you'd have bought it on that day. Pullback buy. It had pulled back, higher lows, started to break over the previous day's high, right back into the range, but I didn't. But yeah, it's like just slight variations of the same shit. You'll end up being well studied up on it too. Don't worry. Euro looks good. Uranium. Finally, hopefully it does what it's supposed to. Yeah. Do our scans have a minimum daily average? Example, 300,000, or just based on volume on breakout day? It's a good question. My scans aren't. I think it's more just like I use these labels for dollar volume and average daily range. So I think it's more like a how do I say it? Like a subjective thing. I don't always. It's not always perfect. Some days I will take names that trade a little less volume versus others. But yeah, I don't want to be in illiquid names. Put it like this. I don't want to have any effect on the stock that I'm buying, or very, very minimal. I don't want to push the thing up 15, 20 cents just because I buy, 15, 20,000 shares. I mean, yeah, one of the things I used to do as a day trader, I used to scalp opening range highs, right? Like something like STEM. I would see this pivot level, I would buy that breakout, and I would do it on bigger size, on a smaller time frame, on a 3-minute chart, or on a 1-minute chart. And oftentimes, I would look for a resistance, and then I would look for a retest of that resistance on a smaller time frame, buy that dip on big size, and then sell the pop. And I would do that shit all day long on any chart. Trade Ideas was great. What stock's trading the absolute most volume today? And something like, well, hey, this is a terrible example. What else is trading really good volume today? Kern. Piece of shit, though. But yeah, smaller time frame, anything that has previous resistance and turn support. So like, pre-market, I would have looked at this chart and I would have said something like, okay, what are your levels of resistance? I see some resistance right there. I see some resistance right there, some resistance right there, some resistance right here. So now I'm like looking at these levels intraday with level 2, and I'm looking at dips. I'm looking for the chart to be above these lines and then pull back and hit them, and then I would be buying as it pulls back right to them. And that literally would be it. And I would have missed this whole front side move. And then I would have bought it right down there as it came down to that line. So I'd have loaded up around 19.5 or 0.195, and I would have loaded a bunch of shares, 50,000 shares or 100,000 shares. That's so cheap. And then, and then sold the pop. And I wouldn't have hung out long. A couple cent move on something like this. Make a few grand, get out the way, do it again. And then again, what'd you get? Another fat pullback right to one of your lines, right to an area of previous resistance from pre-market, right? These 20 cents. And I would have relaunched this entire dip. I would have seen it on level 2, right off of VWAP, right off of previous resistance, and I would have literally played that pop. I mean, even a 2-cent pop, 50,000 shares, another $1,000, and I'd have just done it over. And then again, you got some more lines down here, previous resistance. So I'm looking to long these dips, right? And I'm selling that pop. I'd be up three, four, five, 6 grand on this stupid ass chart all day. And I would just do that every single day over and over and over and over and over. But it's, again, once you build up a portfolio, it's those little pennies become meaningless. I'm not really focused on a couple thousand a day. I'd like to have 7-figure trades in the future, and you're not going to get them day trading. So let's just keep it real. No hotkeys, man. I would just read level 2, make sure that the spread's tight, and buy the market. I don't give a shit. Make sure that it's stupid liquid so you can get filled. You don't want to have effect on the stock. Just use active trader on toss. Just market buy. And be quick with your exits because you're seeing green. AR looks good. CCJ looks great. EMPH looks fantastic. I ended up buying this little cheap one today. Every now and again, I like to own a cheapie. Plus, I've already done really well on GTE, so I took it again today. Just break out over these little tops. Little resistance on the smaller time. It's a cheaper name. Total turd. Not one I recommend for anybody. Oxy's looking better. Would be nice to see Oxy really push up above this 200 on the 60-minute. But again, doesn't matter. DVN will lead the way. The one we should be in. All of us. Fuck, man. It's going to be a frustrator. We're going to watch this thing go see all-time highs, and we're not going to be in it, unfortunately. Doesn't look like. Unless it tightens up right underneath this 75 pivot on the daily, goes sideways, cup and handle setup, and breaks out. Then maybe. Otherwise, I scrub that one up. Toast. Of course, Blaine bought toast today. She did it well. On the dip. Not recommended. No, I'm not. I did Pradeep's boot camp online, and I learned a bunch. But no, I'm not a member on there. I'm not. But I did do his boot camp. It was good. Pradeep's boot camp is really good. Not a member of his site, though. I was also a member of Dan Sanger's room, but I canceled all those. I just wanted to get the information I needed. I did the boot camp with Pradeep. I read through all of Dan's newsletters. It's like paying for a book, right? Paying for a college course. That's all it was. AMRC looks fine. AR looks good. Array still, building out the bottom, I guess, of this base. Not really doing shit. CLH looking pretty decent. Man, CRK. Boy. It's too bad. Yeah, Pradeep's boot camp was good. Learned about momentum bursts. Learn about the anticipation setups. Again, I don't like to anticipate too much, but yeah, it's nice to be able to get in before the crowd. PLO starting to take shape too. I don't know about this setup though. I personally don't know. I've already got one lithium name. RRC not having a bad day. I own this one too. It just did not work for me. I owned it coming out of this little setup here. Just never worked. Ended up getting stopped out. Yep, never worked for me. But maybe it's coming back around. Some higher lows on the daily. Who knows? I don't see a ton much else to do here. Everything seems to be working that you would expect and you'd want to be working. The one name that the two names one that I was watching this morning and one that I was in on Monday, shook my ass out, and one I just didn't buy. DVN and SWN. But get used to shit like that because it's going to happen often. Get used to it. You will not catch them all. But boy, that is awesome, awesome strength to see. No, maybe not plug tomorrow, but soon. But very soon. It's starting to look right. It's not an ugly daily chart. It's been very strong. It's very strong, and it's been now just flagging up. Maybe sometime next week would be even better, personally. Yeah, DNN. It's cheap uranium. Super cheap uranium name. UAN. Just too thin. Just too thin. No volume there. 17,000 shares traded today. I mean, you don't want to have any kind of effect in this name. Like if I bought 1,000 shares and then sold 1,000 shares, I'm like 1/9 of all the activity that's gone on in that day. That's I don't want to have effect like that on a stock. Yeah, plug closer to 30. That would be ideal. Take out these tops up here basically. Yeah, CF fertilizer name. MOS, the laggard in the fertilizer space. I don't even think I've ever looked at IPI. Yeah, I don't even know who the hell they are. But yeah, they look weak. And UAN, I don't know what they do either. But it's just too thin. Plug looks better. LAC looks better. Those are two good ones in my opinion. Maybe not for tomorrow. Cause again, if LAC is breaking the range on heavy volume, okay, fine. But it doesn't look like it's going to be a tight day for tomorrow. It would be great if it got to 32, today or tomorrow, and then just puts in an inside day. Yeah, fertilizers. Yeah. Yeah, I know CF and MOS are fertilizers, but I didn't know about the others. But yeah, LAC, it'd be nice to see a tight red day. You need a tight red day. It's why I've got a line down here. I was actually kind of waiting for this little neckline to break, and it gave you a tight red day right here. An inside day, inside bar day. Those are some of my favorites. So right over those tops. And there you go. Sayonara. But yeah, it never was perfect. It was never perfect. But now it's flagging up some. I mean, even if it pulled back, came back into 29, just built out like another 2 weeks of a base, would be better. Yeah, I don't mind flat tops. I don't mind triangles, like PLL. Right? It's not bad. Nice little wedge or triangle or whatever the hell people want to call it. But yeah, I mean, my buying is still really going to come over the previous day's high, for the most part. I'm still looking for a move over the previous day's high. Flat tops are nice, but again, over the previous day's high. Ignore this little top part in PLL. But for the most part, there's your top, there's a top, there's a top. So over 64, yeah, there's sellers all the way up to 67, but over 64 is really the entry. And you can see it on the daily. For the most part, 64 is supply. It's where it rejects, right? So as it's breaking back through, as long as it's tight leading up to that spot, it's putting in higher lows, it's putting in lower highs, it's getting nice and tight. As soon as it breaks from that range, yeah, it'd be ideal if it did it tomorrow. It would be then a nice chart. It'd be a nice chart if it did it tomorrow. But again, I don't want to guess and assume it has to happen. Nothing has to happen. I'd rather just react to it if it does. I was asked about nerve. I mean, I don't know. This thing keeps dancing around my average. Not my average, but my line, I should say. Where I'd like to get long if I did. But honestly, it's a turd. It's just not, the base isn't big enough. Not enough higher lows. I'd like to see the 20 catch up. But it can definitely move and move quickly. Yeah, PRVA looks nice. Just needs some time. It looks like looks good. PRVA looks good. Again, the entry for me would have been 30 down here. As it took out those tops, or even the previous day's high, 29.30 basically. But I don't see a ton to do in it right now. It needs to flatten out even more. Yeah, maybe it'll go sideways for the next week would be the best looking scenario. Yeah, LAC showing some strength here. But it doesn't seem perfect. ALB strong. LTHM. Yeah, these lithium names, man. Yeah, it's not necessarily that I'd ignore it. But I would just, that's why the right hand side of the base needs to be built out more. I mean, ideally, I was hoping this thing would close at like $303. I was literally saying that earlier, 303, 304, and then you buy it tomorrow over that high. But I already own some EMPH, 288.04. So we'll just wait. And I did sell some already, 309 and 318s, I believe. So, but who knows? I might end up being a jackass for that sell. I should have maybe not sold anything, but again, that's all hindsight. We've been in a kind of crummy market, so I've been quick to peel profits, getting a little more aggressive and taking money off the table. Nothing wrong with that. But EMPH, it just has to go sideways now for longer for a new entry. If today would have been a really nice tight day, tomorrow could have been a good add-on or, maybe even a new position. But as for now, there's nothing for me to do. My stop is a close below the 20 on the daily. Yeah, Sedge. Sedge too. But honestly, guys, I don't see tons to do. Solar energy, Monday, Tuesday, our eyes have been in the right place, and that's always nice to see. It's always nice to know. Our eyes are really in the right place, and we recognize money going into oil energy on Monday. It kind of failed yesterday, but it still appears to be true. And then solar's kind of doing exactly what you would expect. EMPH, FSLR. How's CSIQ looking? CSIQ's maybe for a little bit later down the road. ARRY still could use a little time, it looks like. These names look quite a bit weaker than EMPH, honestly. EMPH looks like like it might be the one. EMPH and FSLR. Everything else is just kind of, whatever. But I am an EMPH, so I am in, what I believe to be a leader, and that's always what we want to focus on, guys. What's the sector that you believe is still strong, and what are the names you believe are the leaders in that space? Again, for energy, DVN for me was the one, but I'm not in, unfortunately. So I went to its backups, Oxy, which is shaping up a little bit more. AR, I own this little turd. Would I have just preferred to have been in DVN completely? Sure, absolutely. But I'm not. So yeah, you need to find exposure in halfway decent setups. When that sector is getting money, and like I said, I feel like I'm revenge trading DVN by being an Oxy, but Oxy did have a halfway decent setup. But it's not a breakout setup. This is a dip buy setup. It's a dip buy setup, and it's one that you guys will probably see me do a little bit more often, especially in this kind of a market. Find it as it's buy it as it's finding support on the rising 50. Otherwise, if we're literally waiting for a breakout, we might be waiting for a while, or the traditional breakouts aren't working in this market. So obviously DVN's seems like an exception, but again, I'm an Oxy because I'm not in DVN, and I still want to have exposure to the sector. And it doesn't have to be a perfect 5-star setup. It can be a 4 or a 3 or 3-star setup, and you still might find success if money's really going to the sector. SWN still looks perfectly fine. But yeah, it seems like all my positions are green today, which is nice. CCJ working, EMPH working, this GT's working, GTLB's working. Oxy, we'll see how that ends up closing, really. Sedge I'd like to get into. I have no position, but it's a big watch of mine. It's just a laggard to the space. Tan's starting to look really good. I own some Tan, but I'd like to own more Tan. I've been in Tan for, it feels like, over a month now. Well over a month. No, I don't spend all my day at my desk. Like, once I get up, I'm going to go have some lunch now. My stops are set. My positions are heading in the direction that, of the breakout for now. I'll go eat some lunch. I'll take my dogs to the park. And then, I'll come back end of day just to check on everything. And then, late at night, I'll scan the market. So I don't sit at my desk all day. I am today because I had some more interest in a few of these names, like SWN, of course, that I missed. And then AR, Oxy, GTE. AR, Oxy, GTE. Cheap name as well. But yeah, I had an interest in a few more of these names. I was also interested in possibly ARRY, adding to EMPH today, which I didn't do. AEHR, obviously, from yesterday, I had some interest in this thing. Hopefully it'll just go sideways. PDD, I'm still interested in this. So I wanted to be at my desk a little longer just to, maybe open up some more exposure if the market started bouncing. But problem is these setups aren't perfect. And yeah, this Neo here. Setups aren't perfect, and the market's not really helping. So CNQ. CNQ's not bad. Good liquidity, good volume. Price isn't terrible, $50, but it's kind of choppy. It's kind of choppy, and it's got a 2.85 ADR. So, find something that moves a little faster. For instance, DVN 3.75 and, something like SWN, basically 5% a day. CCJ 5% a day. AR 4.5. So CNQ's fine. It really is. It's just a 2.5% a day. You might fall asleep, and there's no need to fall asleep. You don't want to be put to sleep in your positions. And it's not so much about that. It's just, you're going to make, if it's in the same sector, just size down a little smaller on something that moves a little faster is all. A little less size in something that moves faster. That's all. Like STEM, 8.16% per day. Imagine if this thing has 3, 4, 5 up days in a row. All of a sudden you caught a 40, 50% move in just a handful of days if it moves on average 8% a day, right? Versus something that moves 2.5% a day. If it has 10 up days in a row, which, again, just think about that. Not very likely. But if it has 10 up days in a row, you're going to get a 25% move versus something like STEM has 3 up days in a row and you've got that same 25%. So, on average, right, according to its average daily range. So, yeah, that's something to consider, right? You want to be in something that's moving a little faster. And again, it's that is how you grow a small account. Yeah, ARR is clearly lagging. It's clearly lagging. It's below the 1020 on the daily, so I literally have zero interest in it. If I were in it, today would be the day to close the position. Every other day it's closed above the 20. Even yesterday it rejected the 20, and then today it's definitely going to close below, barring some minor miracle. So, yeah, it's lagging the space. It is building out a nice base. It's holding 19s pretty well. But I don't want to buy the weakness down here. That's not the objective. I want to buy it as it's breaking higher, like I did here on EMPH. I bought through this previous day's high, and it broke out nice, far away from my average. And then on day 2, in a healthier market, it boomed. Right? Never came back to my average. Never saw red. That's the whole idea. Right? You buy ARRY down here, you have no clue. You have no clue. And God forbid EMPH and FSLR start to roll over, then you're really fucked. You're not gonna get ARRY to go higher if EMPH and FSLR, pull back and consolidate longer. I don't think about it in terms of R. I don't look at it like that. When I take a breakout trade, I want to be in it for as long as the stock keeps trending. Like FSLR. You should have been buying at 92.50 and your stop at 88.50. So you're risking $4, but now you're up 45. So that's a 10-1, but you still wouldn't be leaving this chart. It hasn't even tested the 20. So could it be a 10-1, a 20-1, a 50-1? You don't know if this doesn't go to 200. You're risking $4 and you end up catching a $120 move. You have no idea. And then your R looks ridiculous. So I don't actually aim for a particular R, like reward for your risk. I don't think about that at all. I just make sure that the day that I'm buying, it's a tight setup, it's a proper setup, it's an EP setup, it's an undercut rally setup, it's a breakout setup, it's like something that fits, it's a low cheat setup, it's a setup that I know how to enter safely with minimal risk in the right sector. And then I want to hang on to it as long as possible. 3 to 5 days later, I want to sell a little piece of my position into that strength and then continue to trail the rest. And then depending on market conditions, depending on, what the sector's looking like, depending on how the chart's really acting, is dependent on how much of that position I'm going to sell on day 3 to 5. I might only sell 25%. I might sell, 75%. Sometimes I'm usually right in the middle. I like to sell half. That way I don't feel too guilty about, watching it pull back, or I don't feel, too guilty if it just keeps ripping higher. I at least can say, you know what, at least I still have half. And that matters. PDD, huh? PDD's doing what it's supposed to, finding support on the rising 10. Hopefully a few more days and this thing will be ready. This China name's acting incredibly well. Yeah, and ENVX is it's a mover. It's a mover, but I don't see a setup. Where's your edge? Where's your tight day? Where's your breakout? Where is the tight day? I'm looking, and I can't see it. Where's your tight day above your moving averages? There hasn't been one. Hopefully we get really tight just under 26 would be even better. Push up to this level, go sideways a few days, and buy it. Yeah, it was an EP. It was an EP, but you'd have gotten stopped out. If you bought it on that day as an EP, you got stopped out down here. Right back at it. So, yeah, you'd have been stopped out. Yeah, EMPH looks great, guys. That's why I didn't want to micromanage it too much, and I already did 2 sells on it. So, and I only have 30% of my original position, which again, it's a judgment call, but sometimes I don't always make the right judgment calls. I just got to wait for the close below the 20. Again, is it tough watching something go from 287, your average, all the way to 325? You maybe sell half, and then watching it pull back to 293. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks watching something pull back all the way back damn near to your average, but it didn't close below the 20. So there's no need to overthink it at all. But yeah, ENVX, you would have been stopped out on that EP. The only EPs recently that you wouldn't have been stopped out on is EMPH, Suave, Wolf. That's the only ones that I've seen that you wouldn't have been stopped out on recently. LNTH from beginning of the year. This name looks like it's going to keep going too. But yeah, LNTH could have bought the EP. Yeah, Christian has said that plenty. Yep, sometimes I can't follow my own sell rules. Yeah, that's my biggest issue too, man. It's my biggest issue too. I try to use my brain. I try to apply my brain to it instead of just letting the damn thing close below the 20. And I, did the same thing with DVN. And I feel like a slight jackass today, but it is what it is. How can I be too disappointed at it? It had worked so well on Monday, only to come back and, close below, that low of day yesterday. I mean, it just is what it is. I'm not too mad about it. It's just a learning experience. I'm about as new at swing trading as some of you guys in this room. Yeah, I've only been doing it for about a year now, so. I love me some CCJ, baby. Keep going. I keep telling some of my friends, I believe this name will end up making a big move because it's the only one that's liquid enough for institutions to truly own. It's the only one with a big enough float, expensive enough for right now. You know, an investment, gets more investment. As funny as it sounds, the more expensive this thing gets, the more institutions become interested. Yeah, I sell into any kind of strength on day 4, day 5. Even sometimes day 2, like I did with the MPH. Yeah, just sell a little piece. That's it. Sell a little piece. Sell 20, sell 30, sell whatever. Unbelievable with this RYTM. It's very impressive. Yeah, you could look at it in terms of percent gain too. You could look at something and say, "Hey, it's up 15, 20% for my average. I'm going to sell some here." You could look at it in terms of percent gain too. 10, 15%, like, I used to sometimes tell myself, like, at 10%, you better have 10% off. At 20%, you better have 20% off. At minimum. You got to pay yourself on the way up. But then the rest, it's just a guess. If it's in the right sector and you're sized in well, the rest is a complete guess. And I would rather just get stopped out. When the stock stops doing what, it had been doing. Like, for instance, if you were in LTHM and you bought it, had respected the 20, it respected the 20, and you buy this breakout 31.50, and then you sell. Here's day 3, it goes from 31.50 to 36.38, and okay, you sell some at 35.70s or something like that. Okay, great. In terms of percent move, that was about 13-14%. Great. Sell a third, and then it pulls back and it finds support on the rising 20 again. Why the hell would you want to just randomly sell shit again? I would rather sell it when it stops respecting the 20. If it's done it once, twice, 3 times, how do we know it can't just do it for forever? And then eventually the 50 catches up to your average and then some. Like, you want to be as patient as possible with the majority of your position until it stops respecting that 20. And then that's how you'll end up in a really big move. Yeah, the 50's cool too. That's exactly why, like, on DVN for something, he would have used like that pivot low. He would have been looking at like $67. Excuse me. He would have been looking at $67 for a stop or something, or 66, and he would have been in at 69.70, kind of right where I bought it, and he would have been risking 4%, 4%, and now he's up 4.5%. So right now he's 1-to-1 on his trade, and he wouldn't have been stopped out with that little washout yesterday. He wouldn't have been stopped out in that shitty day yesterday, and maybe he would have done something like he says, sell half, hold the rest, and then it ends up working for you. You only eat a super small loss on it, and you're still in for the other half. Yeah. Oh yeah, no worries, man. I'm still watching my positions. I'm also not that hungry. Well, LNTH just hit my alert too. This name's been choppy. It's almost been easier to buy this one on weakness, but can't deny that this name wants to go higher, obviously. It's new 52-week highs today. Incredibly impressive. Yeah, and guys, for the most part, I will be on stream a little bit longer, like 3 hours usually, or something in that neighborhood. I trade for a living, and I don't got much shit else to do right now. So if I'm here, I'm here. Happy to help. Happy to answer questions. If not, I'm just going to be doing something similar. Taking the dogs to the park. Yeah, it's kind of thin. It's kind of thin. 300,000 shares. It's one I'd pass on. I had interest on it down in the 69 was my area. And it's unfortunate, It's going on without me. If you'd had a 69 average, you could probably be using the 50-day as your stop. But we'll see. EMPH ended up being a monster. Yeah, so see something like this, guys, right? You see, like, the price is just above my Oxy average. If this comes and closes, like, right on VWAP, $67, and I got a 66.88, I'm not, I would really think twice about just holding that still. I mean, we're right at my average, and I don't have to risk a gap down. I can always reevaluate tomorrow, and for the most part, most of us, take positions that it's not hard, to get filled. We're not looking to buy, $10 million positions of this thing, so we're not looking for 150,000 shares. It's like fairly easy to get filled on a couple, 1,000 shares, couple hundred shares, whatever portfolio size you have. So, again, the expectation is I get a halfway decent push from my average, and if this closes, 80 cents, a buck away from my average, then I'm staying. But if this is going to close 10, 12 cents away from my average or 10, 12 cents below my average, I could just take my exit. And then what's funny is you can rebuy it right where you sold it. I mean, and look at it like that. If 66.88 is my average and I sell it at 66.75 and just eat the, $200 or $250 loss, but then tomorrow it starts to push back through. Okay, I'm in it. I'm right back in it. No sweat, no stress. We don't have to risk a gap down. We don't have to do nothing. But again, the expectation is on breakout day that it actually moves far away enough from your average. If it doesn't, then was it really a breakout? Was it really the move you were expecting? But, right now, Oxy's up, about 50 cents a share, and, oil energy looks really good. Crude looks pretty good today. All right, here's crude. Crude's pushing higher. DVN's looking great. DVN's looking really good. What do we look at? CHK, that one's still LNG. Look at LNG, still going. LNG, this fucking thing, man. LNG, I mean, again, yeah, so you think about it like that and think risk first. Everything we do in this market, think risk first. You want to preserve your capital and you want to preserve your brain. You don't want to be overly stressed in nothing you do. This shit's supposed to be boring. And it is. I'm bored. Making money is a boring thing. Tan looks starting to look really good. Sedge, there she goes. Never set up properly, so I didn't take it. And that's why they look so good. Sedge. Beautiful. Maybe this means ARRY will start perking back up too. Would be nice to see. Run. Let's see. Run looks better. Run. SPWR. I know there's so many more of these too. Shit, even Sun W is acting better than Array today. Yeah. Even Sun W is starting to actually set up like a actual setup too. And again, this thing's known to make some dummy-sized moves. It can. Shown it in the past. Yeah, uranium acting really, really well today. Just what you would expect, honestly, from names you believe to be leaders. SWM, still looking good. It's too bad. Yeah, uranium looks very, very, very nice. Incredible. Honestly, even these setups I think are going to be big. The next leading commodity cycle, in my opinion, is going to be uranium, even bigger than oil and gas was here recently. Just my own opinion. Not that it matters. We let price do the talking. Price and price action will do the talking. We still respect our levels no matter what our theses are. But again, if we're going to be honest, we can't charge the world using all coal. I mean, that's just not an option. If we're going to be serious about preserving our planet, and we need a bigger energy grid, and we want to have all these electric vehicles, and that all sounds good. It sounds real fucking nice. But it's going to be impossible without nuclear. Literally impossible. So, and if you read into what's going on in Europe, it's a sad situation. They're going to be hurting out there this winter. So, you see countries in Europe, you see Germany, you see France, you see some of these, you see Japan talking about it. They're all scrambling to get nuclear reactors thrown up. Wow, this thing made a bigger move than I expected. You see my lines down here? This is where I was actually looking at AREC. 208. 208. And I just passed. It's just kind of a cheap, random little setup. But yeah, I saw the move up, and then it flagged out. I mean, guys, same exact variation of the exact same setup. Cheap name or not, same shit. But yeah, I wanted to buy it over 208. I just never pulled the trigger. And it looks like these alternative energy names are still holding up well, because I just got an alert on BE, Bloom Energy. BE's not bad, but I don't really like the risk on it all the way at low a day. So it's just a pass for me, but yeah, AREC's fine. Few more days. Set up once, set up twice, and it might be setting up again the third time. So yeah, I'd like to see price flatten out a little bit more. Again, after seeing it go from 2 to 250, pretty big move there. So just would need to flatten out some. No need to rush to it. 1,000 other setups out there. Plug starting to look really good. Yep, JKS now just hit my alert. Looks like things are starting to hit my alert, especially in the solar space too. Solar, renewable energy, whatever, etc. It's nice to see. JKS is actually a really nice setup today, in my opinion. Not bad. Not bad at all. JKS, I'll never forgive you if you come take me out again. Okay. Yep. I think this setup here is actually better than than Sedge. Even though Sedge is moving pretty well. But EMPH is going to lead the way, looks like. Looks like EMPH will lead the way. JKS, we'll see. Lagging just a little bit, but I like it. Not bad. Just got to make sure you're sized in properly. That's all. DQ kind of sucks still. It's not breaking out of nothing yet. God, Devastator. This thing here, man. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, Sky. I'm glad you can pick something up from this, man. I'm always happy to do it. No need to hoard any information. I don't know anything you guys can't learn as well. I'm just helping speeding up the learning curve is all. But it's really, this shit's just the same variation of the same setups over and over and over. It really is. You guys are going to hear me mention that and say that and mention sector and sizing. It's the same thing. It's just you have to, first you have to figure out what all the little puzzle pieces are, and then you have to figure out where they go. I'm just giving you guys some clarity. Man, I've missed Chris's stream so much too. I've missed Chris's streams a bunch. Because even listening to him, it's like he drops, he'll just talk, right, about setups and about charts, and he'll just like literally drop golden nuggets, and he doesn't even realize it. He just does it because he just drops golden nuggets because he's done things the right way for so long, and he's had tons of success doing it. Anything he's saying it because it's worked. It works. It's how he made all his fortune, and I've studied him and others greatly, and I've implemented it, and it's worked. So I'm happy to teach others what's working for me, and hopefully it'll work for you. It just takes discipline, It just takes discipline. Your job, guys, is to figure out how to scan the market. You guys see me here. I'm literally sifting through names all the time. That's what I'm really doing. Like, I rarely click the buy button. Like, yeah, I've opened a handful of positions today. AR, GTE, JKS. I didn't add to Steam. Oxy is another one. So I have added 4 positions today, but, everything is proper size in the sectors that I believe are proper. Oil, energy, and solar. And we've been talking about this Monday and Tuesday. And so I'm not just like doing something totally random. I'm doing things in the right space, the right sector. And then I'm sized in properly, and I'm just letting them work. And every now and again, we're going to get screwed over like we did on DVN. Getting stopped out. But that was my own fault. I didn't expand my stop. Maybe I was sized in a little too much. I didn't use the low pivot, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I could have done things differently, but this is a learning experience for all of us, and we'll all be better for it later. But yeah, I like scan like 95% of the time. Very rarely do I have to click the button to take a trade. It's totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. Know where you're buying. Know where your stop is. Size them properly. And are you in the right sector? Are you in the right... Like, why would I be buying JKS? Why would I? It's a solar name, right? It's in the right space. I see Sedge going higher. I see ENPH going higher. I see FSLR holding up incredibly well. Even Sun W's booming today. JKS in the right space. Is it going to end up working? Is it going to end up flying? No. Who knows? But is there clear demand down here on the daily? Wick up, wick up, wick up. Clear strength off those lows and another wick up. Like, guys, there's buyers down here, and it's not me. It's not me. So let someone pave a safe little entry for you. Let someone, and again, and I miss setups all the time. I got stopped out of DVN, and I miss SWN. So we miss shit all the time. But were they in the right space? Abso-fucking-lutely, and that's exactly why they're working. The move that they get is because of the space that they're in, guys. A pretty chart and a leader is where you really want to be. But when I don't have DVN, I need to look for the next best thing. When I don't have what I believe, shit, I don't even own LNG. Here's your best one. When you don't own the leader in the whole space, you got to go to the second and the third and the fourth. But like, what's the leader? Clearly LNG. Even DVN still, not at all-time highs. LNG's, every new little tick up is an all-time high. So with nothing but happy investors here, guys. There's no bag holders here. There's nothing. There's nothing but happy investors who have no idea where to sell this chart. No idea. Why? Because everybody's bright green, and if everybody's using their sell rules, or has sell rules, you could be in LNG for a long time too. This thing tripled since it broke over the 200. Which again, guys, this is why I've got big interest in names like PDD. It's just up above its 200. How do we know this one can't triple too? You see LNG, when it got over the 200, it tripled. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't have bought LNG today personally, but your setup was somewhere down here. Like if you saw this, maybe something like a downtrend break or something. And then you buy it outside of this red day's high. Something like that. Something like here. Over this first hour candlestick to make a high. Something like right in there. There's your entry. But, again, it's just slight variations of all, and that's why I've learned, other entries, the undercut rally setup, it just variations of the same kind of setup. But the focus is, what sector is it in? Is that sector getting money? Is it a leading sector in the market? Oxy finally starting to look much better. Would be nice if this thing had a little bit better of a day, but doesn't matter. AR looks good. CCJ looks great. MPH, GTE, GitLab, JKS. Yeah, we'll see if this thing ends up working. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, whatever. Stem, nice, right back. Tan starting to break that downtrend line. Nice. Toast right back at it. Love it. UEC kind of lagging the uranium space. Okay. Yeah, but no, not a ton much more to do. CELH coming back a little bit. Yeah, some coal names going. What's coal? CEIX or something? Yeah, CEIX, BTU I think is a coal name. ARLP is a coal name. AMR is a coal name. ARLP was a nice setup. Somebody mentioned it earlier. Where was your entry? Right over the previous day's high. There's your entry. 25.45 stop low a day. 60-cent stop. There's your risk. ARLP shouldn't have just triggered your alert. ARLP should have triggered your alert over the previous day's high. Your alert should have been triggered at 24.5 basically. So, yeah. just my 2 cents. Taking ARLP up here now is a no-go. It's up 4.96% on the day, and its average daily range is 4.7. So It's just outside of its true average daily range, and even if you bought it, if your trigger was 26, now it's up even more than that on the day when its average true range is less than that. So I can't buy a stock outside of its average daily range. It's a rule of mine. So, but it would have been perfect down at 25.40s. Would have been perfect down there. AR, great. Yeah, my positions look good. Really good. Everything looks great. Bright green. I wish I were in SWN and DVN. Those are the only two regrets. SWN, I just didn't buy the gap up. I didn't buy the gap up or I didn't buy the pullback. So I wish it would have, waited for me this morning. I'd have loved to have on like 775 would have been the perfect entry. But that's okay. Same with DVN. DVN just shook me up. 2 names to learn from. Only names I wish I would have had in the portfolio. Otherwise, everything else looks good. Nothing else to do here, guys. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up. It's been a good day. Almost 4 hours. So this will get thrown up on YouTube for anybody who missed it. And then we'll be back at it tomorrow, guys. Good job on staying disciplined, not chasing, sizing in properly. So until tomorrow, everyone.